And here they come. Everybody on their feet, grandstand packed, infield full. This is what they came to see. Right there is where the start-finish line would be in Daytona. But it's further down track where the green flag waves, and we're underway.
Well, you just motioned about it in the booth, Clinton. That is as spread out of a start as you'll probably ever see at Talladega, or at least for today, you won't see one that spread out again.
Well, everybody's minding their P's and Q's. No practice. Be mindful that we haven't had any practice. These guys got to feel these cars out a little bit. That communication you heard me talk about with the spotters, everything has to be in sync. Let's ease into this situation because you know it's just going to keep ratcheting up more and more. Already 3 wide towards the back.
About 14 rows, 2 by 2, very nicely Noah's Ark style. It's a mess back there, though, where everybody wants to get to the front.
Starting to see these 3 rows back here. Be mindful, Larson obviously not getting a qualifying lap. He'll be coming from the back, Keselowski.
And Larson had to do a pass-through penalty on lap 1 as part of the penalty for that inspection infraction yesterday. He was not allowed to qualify, had to do a pass-through under green after taking the green on the track. So he will be at least half a lap down when he gets back to speed.
Well, there was definitely a huge hula-laboo about Kyle Larson's roof rail and everything that he had going on after well, he didn't even get to qualify yesterday. So now he's going to be way behind. He's not going to have the draft. His lap time is going to be a tremendous amount slower. So he's hoping for some.
One more time?
Hula-baloo?
What is that?
It's 8 rows now, 2 by 2, and then it's 3 wide, right in the middle of the pack. I think the word is hullabaloo.
Well, I'm going with
close enough.
Hullabaloo.
Well, there's his podcast where he couldn't even say it. I love it.
That's my favorite. I told him, I said, you got to challenge me way more.
These guys are formulating this outside line. You see Bubba Wallace move up, and they got in front of Hemrick there. Chastain behind him. Momentum on that outside coming.
Well, you've got a lot of different agendas that have to play out here. You've got some guys that are already positioned up in the front, a lot of good cars that started in the back of this pack that are trying to get themselves formed up together to make some track position up early and put themselves in a better position when the strategy starts to play out.
Much like we saw Bubba Wallace move up there, will there be anybody else come up and make that block and try to ride that line on the outside to the front?
So now it's only 5 rows 2 by 2 at the front as that 3 wide group. Bubba Wallace making that outside move.
Here they come. Another good push off of Hemrick. I don't think he wants to be. He actually told me pre-race he doesn't necessarily want to be on that outside line. He thinks the middle line's here. There's Truex going up, just like I was saying. If he gets to the front there in front of Cindric, you might see him move back down. Kyle Busch headed up through the middle.
Well, this is a much different scenario than Daytona here at Talladega. You're going to run the car much more aggressive. You're going to run the car lower. You're going to run the shocks more aggressive. You want all the speed that you can get out of the car and still be able to drive it. And you see Bubba Wallace be able to push Martin Truex Jr. really well down the front straightaway right there. And that's really what we saw out of these Toyotas at Daytona, Clint. When they dropped the green flag, they were able to push really well.
How about this 3 wide racing all the way back through the field? Awesome.
So 2 Fords at the front on the inside, a Ford and Chevy in the middle, 2 Toyotas at the front in the outside lane.
Make sure these pushes are straight on them bumpers. You see them kind of off to the side a little bit. When you push on those cars, you have to be lined up. Be straight, hit him square. Blocks. It comes down to blocks, Kevin. An untimely block will wipe this whole field out.
Well, they're 3 by 3 all the way through the pack right here. And as we come through the trial right here, you see that bottom lane. The banking's really tricky down there, and it's hard to stay attached to the cars in front of you. So you can push in these straight lines right here. And when you're getting really aggressive, you can push through these corners if you're in a nice lined up fashion. But you got to be careful as we head down this backstretch, because when we get to the end of this straightaway back here, it's super rough with the way that you run these cars. So you got to kind of bleed off that push going into turn 3.
I want to brag about our guys. Already 3 wide, finding the grip, finding the confidence with your spotters. Huge push out of Bubba Wallace here to the lead for Truex, just like I was saying early. Now he comes down to the middle. That's exactly, Kevin, what he wanted to do. But back to bragging on these guys. Already 6 laps in, 3 wide racing like this with no practice. Unbelievable.
Now this is very orderly for Talladega. Do you think after seeing the last 3 cautions of yesterday's Xfinity Series Demolition Derby, everybody kind of got a case of conscience and said, you know what, we need to be careful out here?
Well, they thought about it for a pretty short amount of time, Mike, because now they have forgotten. The only thing that they see right now is Bubba Wallace pushing Martin Truex Jr. really hard there all the way to the front. And that's going to make every one of these guys have to get more aggressive. And I think, you know, Chase Elliott said it in his interview that we had this week. You have to live on the edge of being a little to the aggressive side, because if you don't, somebody else will.
Another huge push. Chastain, Hemrick to the lead, to the point, pushed him hard, locked those bumpers down the back straightaway.
Hey, look at that number 1. Where did he come from? Ross Chastain started 32nd. He's up to 2nd place. Hemrick under fire from McDowell on the bottom with Todd Gilliland, his wingman, or should we say bumper man, right in his wake in that 38.
Well, this is a very interesting time of the race, because we know they all want to go into their strategy and try to do the things that might save them some fuel. But you have these guys that are coming from the back of the pack all the way to the front of the pack, and it puts everybody in a really unique position to have to race as hard as they can.
That's exactly right. You see those 2 teammates, Gilliland and McDowell, down on the bottom front row. Those guys, you can't afford. They had the pole, as we noted, and you can't lose that track position. So they're going to try to hold strong on these guys. But the flip side of that, Hemrick, Chastain, see where they move down, right down to the bottom line where they can ride. Larry?
Yeah, this is our Verizon race strategy, and you guys touched about it before the green flag. You have to have partners when making a green flag pit stop, whether that's drivers within your organization, drivers within your manufacturer. Every trip to pit road, regardless of what tires you change, make sure that car is packed full of fuel. Other than maybe at the stage ends, 2 tires or fuel only are the best options for you.
Thanks, Larry. 9 laps complete. McDowell has led 3. Hemrick and Cindric 2 apiece. And Truex has led a lap. B.J. McLeod leading that outside lane from the back of the field has fought his way to the front in Talladega. NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. And by Credit One Bank. Daniel Hemrick in front here at Talladega. Now Kyle Larson, having served that penalty on lap 1, the pack has caught him now after 12 laps and put him a lap down. However, he's the only car in a lap down or in danger of going a lap down. So the next time the caution comes out, he should be the free pass.
Yeah, what do you think right here, Clint? You think stay up in the middle of that pack or get in that single file lane back there?
I think you have to go where you can ride and try to save my crew chief some fuel. That's what the strategy is right now. And I think that's why you see the biggest movers. Chastain up 30 spots, right? LaJoie 26 spots, Gregson 23 spots. They're able to flip-flop this track position because of the fact that some of these guys right here saving already.
Well, here's Chase Elliott's radio. He is running 28th.
I just want to make sure that, Trey, you know that that's the 2 in the yellow up front there. 12's a different color. Understood. Copy.
Yeah, and what he's talking about is Austin Cindric's in the Menards yellow this week. And there's two SHR cars that look identical. So kind of a spotter's tough decision as to who's driving what car, but Chase wanted to make sure he knew who was driving that car, because I'm sure he's referring to Blaney because of his success here, to make sure they differentiate who they are.
And Blaney's riding out back in 37th, and it's over a mile from the starters up on the roof of our booth to turn 3. That's a long way. Good binoculars help.
That's right. They say clear or near.
Yeah, right. Chase Briscoe trying to become the 6th different leader of this race. $14 complete before the race started. We visited with Brad Keselowski's team number 6 for their pre-race meeting.
All right, boys, we'll get started here. Obviously, good work last week. Continue to never stop. During the stage breaks, there'll be 4 tires and fuel, most likely. Max laps right now, I'd call it 40 laps, maybe a few more. Obviously, with 34 there, if we're pitting with him, just make sure we're aware. If we do end up pitting on the same lap as him, everybody's aware of what we need to do. We know we have everything we need here to put it together. Let's just keep executing. Let's go have some fun and win this race then.
Now, he mentioned the 34 because they are 1 pit in front of their pit, pits 1 and 2.
I love hearing these crew chiefs talk to their teams before the race. I know a lot of people understand that this is a team sport, but I really don't know that they understand the magnitude of the team aspect that comes with the crew chief leading the engineers doing their job and communicating with the drivers. It's just this constant communication in different areas, and the crew chief is the guy that has to navigate all those different areas and try to put all those pieces together.
And all those different areas and scenarios change so much at a track like Talladega.
Like right now, Justin Haley going for the lead on Chase Briscoe. Haley in the 51, taking flying lessons. Last week he soloed for the first time. There is no soloing here at Talladega. There's not much you can do without somebody right on your bumper as Briscoe comes back to the lead.
Yeah, you saw what soloing here at Talladega did for Kyle Larson when he had to serve his penalty. He was 3 seconds a lap slower without the draft.
Well, again, you're seeing this because a lot of these teams, these drivers are electing to try to, save some fuel in these stages and set themselves up for the end, right? It's all about being in a position when you need it at the end of this thing. Flip side of that conversation, a guy like Haley, I want to go out and put this baby on the point and lead this race for my sponsors and my team.
6 different leaders so far at the start-finish line. We could see a record number of leaders today. And Kevin, you've convinced me. 38 drivers here. There's 38 potential leaders, at least, if not winners.
Yeah, I realized that you might have been questioning B.J. McLeod and where he started and everything that he had. And he drove straight to the front.
I would never question B.J.
Yeah, he's great.
17 laps complete. Haley and Briscoe out front. The Allman Brothers, Southern Rock, became the signature sound of the Talladega infield, led by the dual guitar sounds of Dickie Betts and Dwayne Allman. Betts, a founding band member, passed away Thursday. The Ramblin' Man, Dickie Betts, was 80. Two historic Fords thrilled the fans in pre-race by taking a couple of laps. The number 88 is the Ford Credit Ford Taurus that Dale Jarrett drove to the championship in 1999, piloted by Doug Yates. The 28, Bill Ryan, America's premier restorer of vintage stock cars, drove the Texaco Haviland Thunderbird. The Davey Allison won with at Dover in his rookie season, 1987. And the crowd went wild. Very cool. And those cars, fire them up, take a few laps, they'd be as fast as these.
Well, yeah.
Pretty close.
They probably would. You know, with Clint, you drove them.
They were awesome. That was the coolest thing I got to do all weekend. That Davey Allison car means so much to me. As a little boy, I built that as a model. I love that gold chrome on that car. But the horsepower in Dale Jarrett's car, my gosh, Kevin, that thing would run.
Well, I think you forget that you were in the 900s as far as horsepower. So those cars definitely ran.
Robert Yates would have turned 81 this week.
Miss that man. Such a cool dude.
22 complete. Haley out in front of Hemrick on the bottom, pulling them around Talladega as we asked a number of drivers this weekend about their strategy for today.
Yeah, unfortunately, fuel saving is super speedway racing now, and really every racetrack that we go to.
Really anxious to kind of see how it all plays out. You know, the Daytona 500, I feel like everybody's always trying to just kind of get to the end, so the fuel saving kind of becomes even more extreme than probably would at other races.
I don't mind it. I think it's kind of a fun strategy piece to the race.
Seems like that game is in full effect right now, and until something big changes, I don't see it changing.
It's a high-speed chess match. Got to go figure it out.
Fuel saving is part of the game at Daytona and Talladega, but here we've seen a couple of drivers race their way to the front, put up a PR lap, but this 3x3x3 has been pretty endless here.
There's so many layers to the fuel saving as what these drivers do. I mean, positioning yourself in the right situation where you can save that's how you optimize it, Kevin.
Well, you have to play the game, and you have to put yourself in a position and
can't be there.
Yeah.
Can't be where Truex is at. You're pretty much have to hold it wide open when you're leading these lines.
Well, you say that, and some of that is being able to lift. You see BJ being able to get right to his bumper. You can let him push you, and if BJ's getting a push from behind like he was right there, you know, Martin can actually stay off the throttle and let those guys actually make the speed for his car by being pushed. So it's a balance between how much you lift, how much you want to control the race, and so there's a lot of things happening at the front of the field. Being able to try to save fuel and try to maintain your track position is tough.
Here comes Justin Haley back on the inside, trying to lead his 6th lap of the day. Jamie?
Mike, I talked to Justin Haley just before he got in the race car, and he said today's going to be an interesting one with all the fuel saving. He said we're a smaller team at Rick Ware Racing. We don't have the data, the resources, the information on fuel saving that these bigger teams around us have. He said, sure, this is an opportunity race, but there's a lot of educated guessing going on. And when it comes to pitting, I'm going to have to watch for hands coming out of the windows. I don't have the information when the other Fords are going to pit. Josh.
When you talk about opportunity races, that is the case for Daniel Hemrick in the 31. They've shown they have a strong car. For Hemrick, his best career finish in the Cup Series was 5th here in 2019. Well, he's led 7 laps today. He was in front. The team told him, hey, you showed you can lead the line here. Now we need to save fuel. I need you to get to 80% so that we can save fuel. I don't mind you dropping back and hanging in line.
.25 complete, and still 3 lanes at nearly 190 miles an hour. Martin Truex back to the front. The GEICO 500 on Fox is sponsored by Toyota. Let's go places. 29 laps, field in turn 2 as you watch our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Powering the race from green to checkered flag and every mile in between. Goodyear, more driven. Martin Truex out front, Ryan Blaney out back, and they're 3 wide all the way back. Regan?
Well, Mike, you see the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. leading that top line right now, as you just mentioned. Interesting conversation with crew chief James Small. He said after Daytona, they went to work on a few things between Daytona and Atlanta earlier this year that they thought would help when we got to Talladega, but wouldn't be sure until they got on the racetrack. Well, yesterday they qualified 6th, had a lot of speed in that 19 car. Evidently, whatever they went to work on paid off.
All right, Larry Mack, 30 laps complete. When does pit road get busy?
Well, Mike, you set it up at the top of the show. Fuel window 42 to 46 laps. They will come before that. And the Toyotas and Chevys, they normally come first. The Fords are notorious for running a little longer, trying to stay organized and lay down good lap times. I would say based on last year's race, somewhere in the next 6 to 8 laps, we'll be seeing them hit pit road.
Well, that's where you really position yourself for the end of this stage to try to outrun the other manufacturers, and sitting in a lot of these meetings in the past, that strategy kind of changes back and forth as to what's right and wrong. And I've even been in position sometimes to where you're like, that didn't feel right there with everybody checking up. I felt like I was going to lose some time, so I would stay out and actually just commit and run with a different group.
Well, when I heard you say situate, and part of that is get situated with your group and that bottom line. You cannot, you see Truex on the outside of 3 wide right here. There's no way you're just going to cut across traffic and hit pit road. So you'll start to see these teams, these organizations get themselves situated with the right cars around them.
At a minimum, how many cars do you need to pit with to come out and be able to establish a draft and not lose time?
Well, you can't have too few and you can't have too many. I think too many can really get yourself in trouble, Kevin.
Well, what happens when you get too many, as you see the Gibbs cars get organized, well, I thought they were going to get organized there with Truex moving down to the middle lane, but you see 4 Toyotas lined up right there in a row. But really, if you get too many cars, the accordion effect starts to get to the back of the pack, and when you can't keep an equal distance, and so 7 or 8 cars is probably the best and the easiest to kind of manage to get the maximum speed to have less accordion effect at the end of that line. So what I mean by that is just the gap in between cars, and you want to keep that as consistent as possible throughout the whole lap.
Well, it's all about the efficiency of the pit stop, right? When you pull off the racetrack to when you pull back on and then merge back in with the traffic, if you have too many and it accordions, or you get held up getting into your box and you don't get established when you're leaving, that's what's more important. When they leave pit road, you have to be established and connected to get the most efficiency out of the pit stop scenario.
Martin Truex leading from the middle lane. BJ McLeod first up on the outside. Both of McLeod's Cup top 10s came at Daytona. 32 laps complete. We'll take you Fox side by side. 36 laps complete. Here's your Xfinity fastest lap. Daniel Suarez currently 7th, 192.3. That was back at lap 7. Chase Briscoe at lap 7. Most everybody else lap 12 to 14 were their fastest laps. But we're told that Truex and Bubba Wallace are both having radio interference issues. Wallace's was pretty severe.
Not at all what you want. You need to hear that spotter. This is not the place to have radio issues. A lot of people here, a lot of scenarios. These cars being 3 wide all the way through the field, very close together. Larry, what do you got?
Yeah, it never fails on the first set of green flag pit stops here at Talladega. We see drivers get in trouble. Last year when the Toyotas came, Tyler Reddick spun getting on the pit road. When the Fords came, Chase Briscoe spun. And Kevin, I think you had a bird's eye view of that one.
Yeah, I did. And when all that happens, you haven't been able to practice getting on pit road and do the things that you're used to doing to be able to have good markers. You have them in your notes, but you don't get to practice them until you make this first pit stop under green.
All right, 38 laps complete this time by. Let's check with our pit reporters and see what we expect on this first stop of the day. Regan.
Well, Mike, certainly a lot of different things happening in the cars for each of the drivers. Zane Smith, who's running in 7th place right now, having a strong performance. A little concerned about his car through the corners. The seams are actually affecting his race car. The seams where the asphalt meshes together, he's getting loose over that, so wants to have a little help with that. Josh?
Well, how about BJ McLeod in the 78 running in the top 5 right now? The biggest thing the team keeps telling him, work with the guys, make friends out there. We're going to need them for later on in the race. His biggest concern with that car right now, just a little bit free, but a strong run so far for BJ McLeod, Jamie.
And another strong run so far for the 14 at Chase Briscoe. Started 26th, wasted no time getting up to the front, has already led a couple of laps. Now, Richard Boswell, his crew chief, he told me today we have 14 Fords in the field. That's too many. With it up front.
Well, and that's pretty normal that they'll split into groups, and it'll be how you get positioned or where you're running on the racetrack, and you try to do it as efficiently as possible. This is all about time.
Up front is where BJ McLeod is, independent driver from Florida. Had a charter last year, was guaranteed in every race. He and his partners sold that charter to another team. So he's running a limited schedule as an independent, and today, unsponsored. Loves to race.
Oh, he's in the wall. He's in the wall, guys. Got a good push, big push, and I don't know if it just got him loose, Kevin, or what, but he's in trouble.
Comes off turn 4, drops to the apron.
Fuel pressure, no fuel pressure.
And he will pit.
There it is.
Man.
Run out of gas somehow.
What a terrible situation for BJ.
He's been up there on that outside like we were talking about, using more throttle, doesn't have all that fuel data that these other teams have at their expense, and run her out of gas.
So McLeod makes it to pit road. Truex continues to lead. Here's where it happened. Bottom of your screen.
Well, this is exactly what we've been talking about with how much throttle percentage you use, and now you see why it's so important. You don't want to be the guy that runs out of gas.
He did a good job of getting up out of the way as fast as he possibly could. That was close with Chase Elliott.
And looking at McLeod's car, he may have stayed off the wall. So a sharp move by the veteran to get out of harm's way. Couple of takers this time by. Only 2 drivers peel off. Chase Briscoe.
I think seeing that guy running out of gas has got a lot of these guys. Hey, maybe we just play it safe and pit now.
Justin Haley with him.
And I think that really is probably dictated by the crew chief and the engineers in the war room or up on the pit box by how much throttle they've been using throughout the run and trying to predict what lap that is.
And Briscoe, to your point, Briscoe was one of those guys that was probably using more fuel, drove to the front to get track position.
Well, he's definitely in a spot now where you don't want to be with only 2 of you on pit road. You won't be as fast as everybody else.
Briscoe had led 2 laps. Haley had led 4. They both spent a lot of time up at the front of the pack. Chase Elliott is your leader, and look who's right with him. Kyle Larson 1 lap down after serving that penalty at lap 1 of the race. And Anthony Alfredo, the Beard Motorsports car, in second, as here comes a big group to pit road.
Truex, you saw, or no, excuse me, that's Austin Dillon back there.
Chevrolets to pit road this time. 7 of them.
Just a fuel-only stop. Don't slide those tires coming in. You do that, we're going to have to put tires on this thing. Blows the strategy.
There you see BJ up on the outside of the racetrack right there, blending back in with the pack after he had to make his pit stop. Most of these guys are, well, they're all going to have to pit.
Yeah, that's right.
Zane Smith and Daniel Suarez, too fast entering. The speeding police got him.
Whoa, hold on to it, Denny.
Denny Hamlin locks it up.
Yeah, bring it on over.
Now you're probably going to have to put tires on that thing.
Now we are still green with 7 of the Toyotas pitting.
And that's just a product of not being able to practice that. I mean, that's so hard to gauge the depth perception when you're coming onto that flat. You get on the flat of that straightaway and you can see the line, Kevin, but it's hard to judge the distance.
Yeah, and we saw some shots yesterday. It's dirty down there. Denny was lower than everybody else, and you saw him start to slide and the back start to get out from underneath him, but definitely didn't work out for Denny Hamlin.
Here they all come.
Yep, here's a crowd. Led by Chase Elliott and 1 lap down Kyle Larson. Sort of a mixed bag of Fords and Chevys here.
Yeah, very interesting to see this pack all mixed up with different manufacturers.
What you're going to see up here in the top in your track map is we're going to put all day long the car that leads that group off of the pit road. You're going to put up there as a bug on that track map, and the next conversation will be when they merge together. That's the important part.
You talked earlier about big groups. That's 14 cars pitting together there.
It's all about the efficiency. You see how some of them are bunched up and together. You're going to have to back up if you're too far ahead, widen out. You have to work together there. Huge run on the inside by Logano. Very aggressive.
Shane Van Gisbergen leads them to pit road. Josh Berry on the outside, Logano on the inside to the very first pit stall. Done very efficiently by Logano.
And you see right here, just like Clint is talking about, they're spread out. You've got cars back there in a group, and I don't know how they exactly got into that group, but most likely one group caught the other group, or somebody swerved up in front of them to try to break that pack's momentum up.
So 8 cars leaving pit road together, and that should be a pretty manageable group, and they all get away pretty close to one another.
And here they come. This is the merge that we were talking about. Not even going to be close, Kevin.
No, you see the 5 of Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott and those guys bunched up right there. And the group that's on the apron is the group that waited the longest, obviously. It's not going to be too far apart.
And this is that chess match. Which one of these scenarios is going to work the best?
Daniel Suarez makes his penalty drive down pit road, and Chase Briscoe is in for tires. 45 laps complete. 49 laps complete in Talladega. Saturday on Fox, the United Football League continues its hard-hitting action. Still undefeated Birmingham battles Houston, or you'll see San Antonio take on Arlington Saturday at 7 Eastern on Fox. Check your local listings. Jalen Milroe, Alabama quarterback, taking in the NASCAR Cup action here at Talladega today.
You ever heard of him, Larry?
You better believe it, buddy.
Larry grew up in Birmingham. Can you tell? All right, Austin Cindric out front of Chase Elliott. Let's go back and revisit the spin coming onto pit road by Denny Hamlin. Regan.
Well, Mike, as Denny Hamlin got onto pit road and then ultimately got to his pit box, he told the team after that spin, and you see him coming in right here, he hit water. He felt like as he was coming in, a little bit lower on the track. And, of course, heavy rains overnight here in Talladega. Jamie?
Well, we noted that Chase Briscoe pitted for a second time. What happened? He thought he may have slid his tires on the first stop. Went out, said he had a bad vibration, so they came in. This is his right front. There's a little bit of cording on the inside, but otherwise they look pretty good. But he got 4 new ones just in case.
I saw the smoke, Jamie, come off of that tire as he came on the pit road. But going back to the water, I mean, it was for sure as soon as Denny crossed into that little puddle there, Kevin, that thing went sideways on him.
Yeah, and to go back to Briscoe's tire, that tire looks like it's actually just from
camber issue.
Yeah, from camber or wear. Or, you know, when we had all the rain overnight, the track's a little bit green. Whatever that's from, it might get a little bit better as the rubber goes down on the racetrack. But they'll have to keep an eye on that if they have too much camber in the tire.
Heavy rains here last night. There are still a few weepers at the entrance and exit of pit road. 9 to go in stage 1. Chase Elliott, Austin Cindric side by side for the lead, and out in front of him, Kyle Larson is just barely back on the lead lap, at least for now. We've been caution free in Talladega, and we'll take you Fox side by side. 4.5 laps to the end of stage one. Austin Cindric out front with Chase Elliott, but some new players in that front pack.
We'll go back to those green flag stops. I mean, essentially, this is who did it best. You see a lot of those cars moving up. Chase Elliott running second. He was 8th before. Look at this, though. You see those 3 Hendrick cars on the bottom? It is a Chevrolet Ford battle. Ford cars on the outside, Chevy on the bottom. Coming to 4 to go to this stage in. It's going to start getting wild here.
Well, now we're going to really see who's got what, and this is where you're going to learn the most about your car. Who can push, who can get pushed, who's willing to take chances, and you got to do everything that you can do to score as many stage points as possible.
Yeah, no more fuel mileage talks, none of that. You go out here, get this thing in track position. More importantly, get it like I see these Hendrick cars on the bottom. That's perfect case scenario. You got Larson. He's going to try to get his lap back. You got his 2 teammates right behind him. They're going to work together to try to keep those 3 Hendrick cars up front.
Blaney in that blue number 12, really interesting, and I enjoyed his commentary yesterday on FS1 in the Xfinity race. Looking forward to what we were going to see today. Blaney spent the whole first run to the pit stop as the last car on the lead lap. Look at him now.
Yeah, and he's in the right company. You got those Ford Mustangs lined up on the outside.
There's some Martin Truex radio.
Every time I'm at the lead pack, you make get in a different lane, fall back like an idiot. Just depends. Give them all a track position. So stupid.
We were supposed to come a lap earlier. Our radio suck right now. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and that's not good. When you're having radio problems here at Talladega, this is the worst place here in Daytona because you depend on that spotter so much.
Well, you missed that opportunity, and that's where the frustration comes from. Couldn't hear him on the radio. Didn't tee up the scenario and missed it.
And Truex is now the last car in the lead draft in 26.
About Harrison Burton on that outside row, second row, outside lane.
Daniel Suarez on pit road for tires under green. This will be costly.
Yeah, and that's Zane Smith coming off of pit road. He was just on pit road as well, I believe.
Smith already 2 laps down. Lap and a half to go, stage one.
Well, it's going to start to get physical here, guys.
It sure is. Look at those mirrors. Time the runs. They're going to be coming. Who's going to get greedy? Who's going to get aggressive on that outside? Will the third lane come in?
And Kyle Larson in the 5, he's got to go. If he doesn't beat the rest of these cars to the line at the end of the stage, he'll have to pit with the lap down cars. He'll get his lap back, but he'll have to start tail end of the field.
Definitely changes a little bit there, but nonetheless, he will get back where he wants to be. I see the movement. You see Keselowski starting to back up a little bit in the run. Somebody's going to jump out of line and go for it. It's probably going to happen as they catch B.J. McLeod here. This is an opportunity. Pass it. Well, see how that's going to separate them a little bit.
McLeod way up and out of the way, and Larson in control. Here they come, final lap, stage one.
Well, Larson has to get up towards the outside line because he wants to try to block both lanes, and he's way out front right now. He's not a factor in who wins this stage, though.
See Blaney moving. Comes the runs.
And Larson can't hold that front spot. They come to the line. Cindric is the stage winner unofficially.
As they caught those lappers and they were catching other ones as well, that affects that air. And the second that one of those move out and breaks that plank, you lose your momentum.
Austin Cindric for Team Penske and Ford by a slim margin gets his second stage win of the year. Saturday on Fox, a National League showdown. Paul Goldsmith leads the Cards against Pete Alonso and the Mets, or you'll see the Reds versus the Rangers. Saturday, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on Fox. Check your local listings for the game in your area. Here's Jamie Little.
Well, Mike, Noah Gragson just finished 10th in that stage, picked up 1 point. And if you know Noah, you know that he's high energy. He is all out. But when it comes to his pit crew, well, they're pretty low key. Together, they make a well-balanced team.
I'm Ryan Mulder, front tire changer from Sioux Center, Iowa. Grew up around dirt track racing and wanted to be on a pit crew, and this is my 14th season in the sport.
My name's Trevor White. I'm a former wide receiver at Baylor University, 5th year pitting race cars.
Tyler Bullard, the only tire carrier for Noah Gragson on the 10 car. Hometown, King, North Carolina. Home track, the Madhouse, Bowman Gray Stadium. I also work at Stuart Haas as an engineer during the week.
Sean Cotton, Jackman, former Daytona 500 winner. Kurt Busch, drafted by the Washington Nationals as a catcher.
James A. Skeener, fueler. I got to be a part of Tony Stewart's last win at my home track at Sonoma.
Drew Blickensderfer is the crew chief from Mount Zion, Illinois. He has 4 Cup Series wins, including 2 Daytona 500s. Andy Houston, from another famous racing family, is the spotter up on the roof. As they're ready to go to work here at the end of stage 1.
Saw him talking to the crew chief behind him, trying to get a better plan to help one another get in and out of the boxes, is what they were talking about.
Yeah, I thought I heard him briefly say a round up, which would tell me the back of that car is just a little bit too low. It's either dragging in the wrong spots, or it's on the limiters too hard. And Noah doesn't like the way that it drives.
So Kyle Larson will be the free pass car. He'll get to come around and get back on the lead lap and pit with the lap down cars. Now Martin Truex Jr. is down there on the apron with fuel pressure issues, as in not enough gas. He flipped the switch and he'll make it to pit road. Regan.
Like Chase Elliott in second place right now. Felt like he might have wore out his right front tire just a little bit too much. Car took off a couple times, had some big moments. And the 10 of Noah Gragson, we just met his pit crew. He is bouncing around too much as the speed picks up, a little bit loose with the car as well. Josh?
For the 12 of Brian Blaney, who rode around the back for most of that stage, found his way to 4th by the end of it. Said he's happy with that car, no issues, just 4 tires of damage.
Austin Cindric led 13 laps there, picked up his 2nd stage win of the season, said all he needs is a little bit more security in that 2 machine.
I know Gragson had to back up to get out of his pit.
That's exactly what you saw Drew talking about with that crew chief behind him. Didn't work.
There's Austin Cindric, your stage 1 winner at Talladega. Ford is celebrating Mustang's 60th birthday with a special appearance package that recalls the 1965 original, and they're only going to build 1965 of them.
It's amazing what they've done, too. Since '64, they've sold 10 million Mustangs on the road. It's been the best-selling sports car for over 10 years now. The brand of Mustang is strong, and boy, are they fun to drive.
By the way, over 85 markets all over the globe, a Mustang's being sold. And guys, have you seen the all-new GTD? That is the baddest Mustang that has ever been built. Street legal, by the way. And that one's mine.
All carbon fiber body, 800 horsepower. Is it the ultimate Mustang? Well, it is so far for a brand that has a great 60-year history and an even brighter future.
That car is awesome. But I want to brag on somebody. That 60-year anniversary, the track day they did was awesome. There was over 2,000 cars there. Obviously, Mustang guys from all over the country came, gathered together. They had drifting ride-alongs. They had track ride-alongs on the Roval, Kevin. There was stuff everywhere, and people had a lot of fun there. That was cool.
Well, there's pressure on the Ford drivers to win, but how important would it be if one could win on this Mustang's 60th anniversary?
Yeah, no better week to do it right here at Talladega. It's always a super important week for us. Anytime we come to a super speedway race, the Fords have always been kind of known for working together.
The Fords have had good speed all year long. We haven't got to victory lane yet, but we just keep on building and building.
Like we have a car that can do it. Just got to get through everything.
You know how many Mustangs they sold that first day, April 17th, 1964? 22,000.
Wow.
In one day. I remember that. I was 14, and there had just never been anything like it when they launched the Mustang. That was pretty cool, and here we are 10 million cars later. All right, let's check with Regan and some developments on pit road.
Well, Mike, we saw this partial spin earlier getting onto pit road for Denny Hamlin, and a little bit of contact when he did that. A little damage to the front steering of the car. The team opted to go ahead and take the time to fix it now with an extended pit stop here. Interesting, though, Denny didn't complain about it all. It was actually in the data that the team has on top of the pit box that they saw the wheel was a little bit off, and that was what alerted it to him.
Wow.
That's some heads-up stuff. Noticing that, realizing that there was some contact there, and then going to the data and see if you can dissect that. That's cool.
Yeah, and that really shows you the magnitude and how in-depth that these engineers and teams can be, not only on a pit box, but there'll be a group of engineers and guys and gals working back in what we would call the war room back at wherever the shop headquarters is to really go through that data and feed the pit box. Sometimes the pit box will see it, but a lot of times the war room will feed that information to the pit box to address.
So 4 Fords, 4 Chevrolets, and 2 Toyotas earned stage points here in stage 1 as we get ready to begin stage 2, 60 laps total. The ally on board for Alex Bowman, the 48. And here is the Thomas's Bagels foot cam for Ricky Stenhouse.
Yeah, you see him just using the brake to slow the car down. You set a gap to the car in front of you to try to be able to drop back as much as you can without making NASCAR mad. Shut the engine off and then let it coast. And then if you're coasting a little bit too fast, and you ride that brake to slow it back down.
The Monster Energy cam on Ty Gibbs' car includes rear spoiler cam this week. Mustang pace car is in, 65 complete. Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, 2 Chevys will lead them back to green ahead of the Fords of Blaney, Cindric, and Burton.
See Kyle Busch there on that outside, Kevin. He's hungry. Needs this opportunity, was looking for this opportunity at Talladega. Told you earlier in the week.
Yeah, Kyle and I actually spent some time together in Georgia this week, turkey hunting. Happened to be at the Realtree Farms down there, taking some time to relax. And
with your two's history, there's no chance I would went hunting with him. But well, man, I'd say times are changing.
Well, you know, I don't have to go out there and compete anymore. So I actually took Piper hunting. Keelan and Piper didn't want to hunt together, so I had to take Keelan last week and Piper this week, and Kyle was there as well.
Saw Chase Elliott move down out of that outside line, elected to get into the bottom. Good place to ride and a good place to save some fuel as you're doing so 4 or 5 rows back.
Well, and all these guys saw what happened to those few cars that had to pit for fuel or ran out of gas or, got a little bit out of cycle right there.
And where did they come from? Not to cut you off, but they all come from that outside line, right? You see them coming again. Be careful and mindful, just like BJ McLeod. You can go up there, absolutely, drive her to the front, but you better get in and start saving some fuel.
13 different leaders already as you watch from the Wendy's cam.
And track position is important. You have to be able to try to capitalize and get that track position while you can. So you see SVG up there on the outside trying to get his way to the front to be able to position himself to be at the front of the pack and do what you need to do from a fuel standpoint.
Speaking of fuel, here's Kyle Busch.
Making sure we get it timed out right to come forward at the right time. Hopefully we don't go back like that, but if we do, that's the easiest spot to save the most. So. Yeah, I mean, you did a great job on your saving right there. There was only a couple guys that were able to save a little more aggressively than you, and they started a little bit further back, you know what I mean?
Well, it's topic of discussion. That's the play, that's the strategy. Who can do it the best and where, right? You can't lose the track position, as you said, Kevin. So where can I ride and find that sweet spot of track position versus fuel saved?
Yeah, Randall Burnett, Kyle's crew chief, does a weekly turn on Sirius satellite radio, and I always learn something each week from him.
Well, that's the unique part about this sport is every week you do learn something. This is a constant evolution of learning. It's an engineering exercise, and that's why we are where we are with the fuel situation, because everybody realized how somebody figured this out before everybody else, and now everybody does it. What's the next thing going to be? What's the next innovation? What's the next thought? That's what these crew chiefs and engineers and drivers and teams are so good at, is evolving. And if you're not here every week and you miss a few weeks, you get behind really quick. Yeah, and so you see 46% throttle up there, so basically about half throttle. You see Chase with his foot right on top of the brake pedal in case something happens, and he's looking at the dash right now, and he's got a throttle percentage on his dash that he will keep track of it as well.
New leader Anthony Alfredo, the Richfield, Connecticut driver.
Oh, very close.
Schedule goes all the way to the front.
That was really close with Noah Gragson and SVG back there right behind him. Almost got into one another.
Alfredo finished third in yesterday's Xfinity.
You see SVG getting spit out on that outside.
Whoa.
Well, we documented earlier just how much slower Kyle Larson was than the rest of this pack. And when you get out shoved out a line like that, and it takes that momentum away, you literally have to go all the way to the back of the pack to get the biggest hole being punched in the air as possible by the whole pack to gain that speed back.
New leader from Las Vegas, Noah Gragson for Stewart Haas.
And he did exactly what the other guys were doing, Clint. You know, he just put the pedal down and said, I need to get to the front of this pack and do everything that I can to be in control of what I'm doing up in the front instead of being in the back.
Now in second, John Hunter Nemechek. He was involved in the Denny Hamlin spin, but apparently had no damage. There he rides in second place. Larson and Alfredo dueling for third, and it's 3 wide for fourth on back. 71 laps complete in Talladega.
Unbelievable. This is the biggest, the baddest in so many ways in the infield of this. Well, somebody's getting picked up already. That's in style right there. That space shuttle looked pretty large, Kevin.
That's your ride, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
John Hunter Nemechek has become the 15th different leader of this race. 34 lead changes in just 75 laps.
There's no way you can get a tailgate king of the infield at Talladega. Everybody does it right here. Everybody wins at Talladega.
Corey LaJoie up the outside.
What you see here in this top 5 is exactly why it's anybody's game. Going back to how we led this show, Mike, it's anybody's game.
Top 4 all looking for their first Cup Series win.
Wow.
Managing those runs, the gaps. You're using a lot more fuel up here leading these lines like this. Blocks moving down, using their energy, using their momentum, slowing it down. A lot of communication here with your spotter.
Well, the lap times are really slow right now. That's about 4 seconds slower than what the fastest lap is for John Hunter Nemechek. So these guys are obviously in a spot where they need to save more fuel, or want to save more fuel than they did last time.
Well, compare Nemechek with Chase Elliott back in 15th place. Chase with about 40% throttle. Nemechek out front, burning more gas, 50 to 60% throttle. RPM the same.
Yeah, from a driver's standpoint, it's like we were talking about when we were on the foot cam at Chase Briscoe's car. You know, you want to try to do everything that you can do to have a consistent percentage on your throttle. The further back in the pack you are, the easier that is to do. When you're in the front like John Hunter is, you got to use a little bit more throttle. But we saw some of these guys come to pit road and pit after the right before we went to the green flag right there. So there is a lot of strategy, and that's the reason that we're showing you this right now is it's detrimental to do what John Hunter is, but he is one of those cars that came in and topped off there towards the end of that caution flag. So we'll see how this plays out.
As good a job as he's doing working with his spotter, let's listen to those guys work together as they're managing these runs coming from behind. Nemechek.
One back to your middle lane, then one back to your 62. Now middle lane covered with the 10 there. Still outside you in the 10. They're going to roll even with you, then one back after him, one after your help, then two after his help.
That's Ryan Blanchard, Nemechek's spotter.
And still one after your help.
Now we'll listen on Noah Gregson, spotter Andy Houston.
Back to that top rope. Still just top of 2 wide. Seven, half off you. Top rows 3 rows back.
Kevin, did you like a lot of input from the spotter or only when necessary?
Well, you really don't have a choice here because there's so much going on that the spotter is going to talk to you constantly, and you hear that information whether you want to hear it or not here. On a normal racetrack at a 1.5 miles or a short track, I wanted you to talk to me as little as possible. So our radio was always pretty quiet until you came here.
When it's quiet, it's a good thing on a 1.5 miles. That means everybody's behind you.
Coming to complete 80 laps. Toyota, Ford, Chevrolet, 1, 2, 3 at Talladega. The GEICO 500 on Fox is sponsored by Verizon Frontline, built for 5G, built for first responders. 83 laps complete, coming up on halfway in stage 2 of 3 at Talladega. Now, Anthony Alfredo was in the top 5 ever since they dropped the green to start stage number 2. He's now dropped back to 7th. Regan?
And Mike, you see him leading the inside line right there. And I love something that I saw happen with this team. Everybody on varying strategies right now. The car owners actually told the crew chief, we don't care what you have to do. Just get the car out front. We want to see that car up front doing a good job. And Anthony, of course, a very good driver, finished 3rd in yesterday's Xfinity race and does a lot of the sim work for Hendrick Motorsports. So although he doesn't do a lot of cup races, he has spent a lot of time in a cup car in the simulator.
Well, I love that strategy because Beard Motorsports is a tiny team out of Michigan. They have one full-time employee working on that 62. They run Daytona, Talladega, just a handful of races each year, and they've had a chance to lead this one.
Well, that's what you want, and that's why NASCAR leaves those 4 spots for open competitors to come in to race. And Talladega, Daytona really allows you to prepare for the same types of racetracks and work on your car over and over. So it's good to see them up front.
33 degrees of banking. You see it well as the cars round out at turn number 4, steepest of any of the NASCAR Cup tracks, and the largest oval on which these cars run. Chris Buescher trying to get something going in the outside, and he's got Ford-mounted Todd Gilliland behind in the 38. Buescher with 5 wins, the most of anybody. In fact, all of the wins in the top 4 right now are Buescher's 5.
Yeah, and from a driver's standpoint, it's really, really difficult to be disciplined in these situations. It's so tempting to pull out a line and go up there and try to do something that you know you want to do, but you have to be able to put yourself in a position to save fuel and work out the strategy side of it. So you see the Hunt Brothers Pizza onboard camera with Joey Logano here, and he's in the middle of the pack doing his job and trying to make sure he's in position when they make this pit stop under green here.
Been quiet day for Logano, who had a speeding penalty on his first pit stop of the day. Back on the lead lap and up in the lead pack is Kyle Larson.
Are other people able to save even more than we are?
Yes, being farther back, even for the same throttle percentage, their car is getting that much more help than yours is up front. So that's the difference. So again, we don't want the pace to be too slow and allow people to try to make it. We would like to force a stop, so just keep that in mind.
Cliff Daniels, the crew chief for Larson, who had a drive-through penalty at lap 1 after taking the race's green flag. He had to come down pit road at pit road speed while the rest of the field raced around. He got lapped, got his lap back at the stage break. Toyota, Ford, Chevy, 1, 2, 3, Nemechek, Gregson, LaJoie.
Well, that was an interesting comment by Cliff Daniels, and really, you know, for us, it's difficult to have the calculations that they have up on the pit box. So,
yeah, I was kind of wondering. All right, Cliff. Well, how much slower, to your point there, would you have to go? How much more fuel would I have to save to make it to the stage end?
Yeah,
first time I ever heard that.
Yeah, and he's definitely told his driver to get up there and try to push those guys to go faster. We saw Kyle Larson into the back of Corey LaJoie, and being able to try to push him forward to make that line get out there a little bit further. So you see his throttle percentage right there of, you know, right around 50%, just managing whatever that gap needs to be in front of him and still able to do what he needs to do.
'88 laps complete, 36 cars still on the lead lap and in the draft of the leader.
Let's go! Pushing to the limits, you know. Yeah, we won't stop living, gonna keep on winning. Let's go!
The sights and sounds of Talladega. 91 laps complete. John Hunter Nemechek has led the most laps today, 18. Noah Gragson, Chris Buescher, Corey LaJoie, Todd Gilliland are the front five. There are 35 cars on the lead lap, and they're all in the lead draft. Chase Briscoe, while we were away, came in and got fuel and 4 tires in his number 14 Ford. So he will go a lap down if we stay green. Zane Smith and BJ McLeod are each 2 laps down. Well, it looks like we're going to have another round of green flag pit stops. Let's check with Jamie Little.
But John Hunter Nemechek leading this race had only led 1 lap in his prior career in the Cup Series. And he hasn't raced here in 4 years, Mike. The last time he ran here, though, he ran 8th in both races. So it's not a big surprise he's running up front. He's been quiet on the radio, really happy. Feels good out front there, Josh.
Well, strong start to the day for Todd Gilliland, qualified 3rd in this race. And he told me before the race that leading laps at Daytona gave him a lot of confidence when it comes to this super speedway style of racing. He feels good about his car today. Tight early on in the race, but much better as of late, Regan.
Well, Josh, as we near these green flag potential pit stops, which we would anticipate to be gas-only stops, keep an eye on where the cars stop as they get to their pit box. Kyle Busch was reminded after the last stop he was a couple feet too long. That cost him a little bit of time because the fueler had to chase the car down. We are talking a matter of not only inches on the racetrack, but inches on pit road as well.
All right, Martin Truex has now fought his way back up to 6th place. Second on the inside lane. Here's his radio.
That's all you want me to do?
Yep, copy that. Well, we're going to be there when the pay window opens. We're just going to do our own deal here. It's going to work out for us.
A little bit of a sales job there.
Well, it's interesting since Chase Briscoe pitted, and all of a sudden the pace picked up because the first lap was almost a second faster than the field, and now they've decided to go.
Well, I think they've all realized too, going back to Cliff Daniels' point all over again, this takes me clear back to Daytona 500. He's the one that realized, hey guys, these guys are going too slow. We need to speed this thing up, just like he told his driver again here today. Speed this thing up and make those guys make this pit. Who's going to be able to capitalize on his track position game? Think about Keselowski coming back and topping off. Guys like him, the 47, the 11, Denny Hamlin, we saw him on pit road. Those guys are going to be able to go on pit road, spend less time taking fuel, and essentially gain a lot of track position for the stage end.
Yeah, and those are they pitted before the green flag came out, and they've also been very disciplined as to where they're running with track position. But we have definitely seen the pace pick up now, so everybody's trying to put themselves in a position to make their green flag stops, and everybody realizes now that they're not going to run that pace the whole stage, so I don't think they can make it.
But that's exactly how they capitalize on that green flag stop. Spend the least amount of time on pit road. Fuel and the consumption of the fuel is where the time is lost or gained.
7 of the cars currently in the top 10 came in and topped off at lap 65. They include Nemechek, Buescher, Hamlin, LaJoie, Cody Ware, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex, Todd Gilliland. They all came in and topped off. 25 laps to go in stage 2. We continue 3 by 3 at Talladega. Chris Buescher back out front at Talladega. Gill and Priest, Logano, Gregson, 5 Fords out front. And Larry Mack, the lap times have suddenly dropped 3 to 4 seconds. What switch got flipped here?
Yeah, I go back to what Cliff Daniels, Kyle Larson's crew chief, said. Let's force people to have to make a stop, because they were working on trying to run 54 laps on this tank of fuel, which the pace they were at, I'd say they were flirting with it. It's time to get track position, get up near the front. We know we're going to have to make this green flag pit stop, which I would say, guys, we may see in the next 6, 7, 8 laps.
2 laps ago, Shane Van Gisbergen was leading. Now he's been kicked back to 14th. Nemechek also dropped from that lead group back to 22nd. Chase Briscoe going a lap down after making that extra pit stop under green.
Yeah, and he was hoping that they would continue saving fuel, because by himself, when he first ran out there for one or 2 laps, he was able to take that Mahindra tractor's Ford.
Whoa.
Hey.
Man, he pulled up there and tried to block that run by Cindric, and he had a huge run. About got himself in trouble there. He's going to fall into line right there
in front of Blaney.
Yeah, and it just takes so long to get your momentum and the engine back wound up once you get out of the draft and shoved outside by yourself.
Five Fords in front and all lined up on the bottom of the racetrack. But as Larry told us earlier, their gas mileage may be a bit better. Oh, hands in the air from Gilliland. Are they coming this time? All but Buescher. No, he's coming too. Everybody hard on the brakes as the Fords hit pit road. Eleven cars peeled off.
Keselowski's in this group. He's one of the cars that pitted here. Mind you, he was one of the cars that came in topped off at the end there. He's not going to take much fuel. He'll cycle to the front of this, and let's see if he can cycle to the front of the pack when the times are at the end of this stage. There he is. Passed a lot of cars in his group right there, pretty much every single one of them. That's exactly spot on what I thought that strategy was going to be out of that car.
Teammates Buescher and Keselowski lead this group off pit road.
Yeah, they're spread out though. You see the 2 team cars of Buescher and Keselowski up front, and then you see everybody else spread out a little bit. A whole bunch of them coming to pit road right here.
Mixed bag here, Chevys and Toyotas. And another large group. 12 cars this time.
I think you were spot on with that, Kevin. It's all about the efficiencies of this stop. And there's so many equations. How you come on, how short your pit was, and then the exit. You have to be together. When you get back out there on that racetrack in your single file, if you're all spread out and there's slack in your chain, it doesn't work the best.
Wow, 4 wide exiting the pits.
And here this first group comes off down the front straightaway in the tri-oval. Oh!
Corey LaJoie
around in that water, more than likely, leaving the pit road. Still green, still green.
They were 4 wide, and you can see the water marks there.
Yeah, and that's not how you want to come off pit road. No. All bunched up like that, 3 and 4 wide. It takes time away from the efficiency of what you're doing.
Watch the merge here off of the backstretch coming off of 2. See that outside line? They were the ones that pitted first.
In the map at the top, you see those 2 groups merging together. 22, Joey Logano is your leader. Van Gisbergen and Hemrick leave pit road after stopping together. No takers this time. So the first 12 cars have not yet made this pit stop. As we'll show you what happened to Corey LaJoie, stuck on the outside leaving pit road. And that's where those puddles are. Wow.
You see the Elliott about spun in front of him.
Weepers from last night's heavy rains. They're at the exit of pit lane, not in the racing groove or in the normal line off pit road. It's because they were 4 wide there. Van Gisbergen just coming out of the pits, so trying to get back up to speed. He and Emmerich, and that's a tall order.
Well, you see what happens when the slower cars are in the lane of the cars that are merging with their full head of steam. It kind of mixes everything up, and really that's what you want. If you're one of those slower cars, you want the group to get mixed up, to try to just slow them down a little bit, mess up the air, and try to get those guys out of that single file line. So Shane's probably going to be able to blend back in okay.
Logano, Hamlin at the front of the lead pack. Larry, the 12 cars that have not made this stop are most all the ones we mentioned that were last on pit road to top off at lap 65. How long can they go?
Yeah, Mike, they can probably go, especially with how slow the pace was. They can probably go another 6 to 8 laps. Now, will they go another 6 to 8 laps? I don't know if that's the case, but based on how slow the pace was, they have a few more laps they can run.
Well, that group includes most of the Toyotas, 7 of them, along with 4 Fords. And that group is about 30 seconds ahead of the merged group that's just now entering turn 3. About 2/3 of a lap.
Well, and that's always the interesting thing about these super speedway races. Every time you get into the race and you get into the flow of the race and how the strategy worked last time, these guys always come up with a plan that they think is going to be better based upon when people are pitting, the lap times that you run. There is so much information that goes into that pit box and into that war room that plays out with all the strategy that they predict.
So let me ask Larry again. Larry, if you run this out, if you're one of these 12 cars and you run until you absolutely have to stop, would you stop again at the end of the stage?
You could flip the stage, Mike, because obviously that next stage, that final stage, is 68 laps. So you could flip the stage. That could be a game plan. Go as far as we can here and then maybe flip the stage. Options are all over the place, trust me.
That's why you got to be a good poker player. You can, Kevin, I heard you say all the technology in the world, but you still have to play a little bit of poker here and you know, make some decisions on your feet quick.
Well, there are better poker players than others that sit on top of these pit boxes. So they're the guys that always push the limits and take chances, and there are some people who don't take chances and always just want to go with the numbers, and sometimes those poker players beat you up.
Now the gap from the Hamlin-Logano group all the way back to the Byron group remains constant at about 32.5 seconds. So there's the Byron group. And here are the leaders. Here's some Joey Logano team radio.
Copy. I can just make out lap time. I know what you're saying. Keep lap time, but I'm not going to be able to hear you say pit. You were clear. Austin is not making lap time here. Going to get ready to get stuck off this 6271. Denny's.
One car peels off. That's I believe that's Nemechek. Ten to go in stage 2. And we may have some activity on pit road among the leaders this time. Hamlin and Bell, 2 Toyotas in front of Logano and Cindric, teammates in Fords. And we saw a hand out the window.
I like this strategy because of the lap times they had. They're only going to have to go a few laps here at the end, which means they're going to have to take or they have the option to take way less fuel.
Yeah, we got 2 of them in the grass, locking up tires, all the things that you don't want to have happen. Denny Hamlin at the top of your screen missed his pit box, had to back up. All kinds of errors right there.
So that leaves just 4 cars on the track that have not pitted, and they're all Fords. Logano, Cindric, Blaney, and Berry. All the Toyotas came in this time.
Yeah, and everything you wanted to have happen right there didn't go as planned if you're that group. especially Denny Hamlin. So that's 2 errors that Denny's made getting onto pit road. One, he spun out in the water, and that time he just missed his box.
And Christopher Bell was too fast entering, so he will do a drive down pit road at pit road speed. Logano is in, and the Fords finally make their stop 1 lap later than everybody else.
Look at this merge. See Keselowski, his teammate Buescher. Remember me saying Keselowski. They topped off, rode around in the back, saved fuel, which means they had to take less fuel, and look how they're capitalizing on that. Here they are marching straight to the front of track position. Huge block right there. Buescher to the front. Brad didn't get to go with him though. Missed that push. Brad stuck in the middle.
Ryan Blaney too fast entering pit road.
That cycled exactly the way they wanted. Talking about Keselowski, RFK. Buescher to the front, Keselowski. He didn't get to go with him on that push, but that was the strategy, that was the plan, and it worked flawlessly.
Well, the guys who really cycled out well are Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. Austin Cindric up there.
Why is that? Because they had only a few laps to go. They took less fuel and they assumed the track position.
Ryan Blaney's gonna have to come to pit road right here, so that's just gonna leave Logano and Cindric up there, and these guys are gonna drive right by him.
There you see it from the Ford Performance Cam on board Blaney. Back to pit road for the drive of shame.
Yeah. And you're going to see Austin Cindric. You see him try to pull up. He wants to make that lane swerve. And Joey Logano does the same
Buescher
thing.
Threads the needle.
And that's your job. You do everything you can. And look, instead of going all the way to the back of that line, it's a huge risk. But Joey Logano kept himself in 3rd place. Austin Cindric is down there 5th place. It's a big risk pulling up in front of him like that. But that's the strategy.
But Chris Buescher, what a move to retake the lead. Ryan Preece goes with him. Business is picking up at Talladega. The GEICO 500 on Fox is sponsored by Credit One Bank. 4 laps to go in stage 2. Joey Logano, Buescher, Cindric, and Preece, and Gregson in Fords, the top 5. Then the Chevys of Dillon, Byron, and Larson. I'm not waiting to the last lap, fellas. I'm calling the Pod's big move of the race right now for Chris Buescher.
Well, we talked about this, and you see Austin Cindric, he kind of moved up, and Joey Logano staggered up to try to block the run completely, and Chris Buescher threaded the needle, actually made contact with Austin Cindric, but those guys, we talked about the risk and the desperation that we feel like the Fords are in to win this race. We see a whole bunch of them up in the front of the pack right there. And Joey Logano and Austin Cindric took a huge risk right there.
So give it to Chris Buescher and Ryan Preece, who followed him right through that barely there gap between the 2 leaders.
And you see it right there. Joey Logano, Austin Cindric still leading this race. They had the best strategy. They just didn't have the amount of cars that they needed in order to put themselves in a position to have the lap time that they needed with the pack. So they had to take matters into their own hand and just put themselves in the way.
28 cars in the lead draft.
2 to go here. It's time to go. Need some track position, need stage points. How are they going to do it? Watch these runs coming from the back. That's where they get established. You'll start seeing cars pick off one. And I like that run. Here it comes. Here it comes. Are you going to take it? Spotter communication going wide open right now.
Tyler Reddick, second row on the outside, makes his way up toward the front for one of the first times today, but it's the Penske teammates with Cindric pushing Logano to the line.
Well, you saw him push him all the way into the tri-oval until he felt uncomfortable with that transition of the bottom lane, and now he's going to be right back on the back bumper of Joey Logano going through turns 1 and 2.
Kyle Larson started last under penalty, served a 1-lap penalty, took 60 laps to get his lap back on the free pass, and here he is racing for the stage 2 win.
Well, there's a lot of cars racing in the pack still for being this close to the end of the stage. Usually you see some of those cars drop off out of the way when they realize they can't get stage points, but we've got a heck of a race coming off a turn 4 to the start finish line for the end of the stage 2.
24 races since Joey Logano got a stage win. Here they come through the tri-oval. Big push from Austin Cindric. Logano beats everybody to the line. Cindric, Larson, Dillon, Chastain, the top 5. And stage points to Reddick, Buescher, Elliott, Preece, and Gibbs. Joey Logano, stage 2 winner. Next Sunday, NASCAR on Fox heads to the Monster Mile in Dover, Delaware. The High Bank Concrete will host the NASCAR Cup Series at 1 Eastern pre-race and green flag for the Worth 400, 2 o'clock Eastern. Next Sunday, you'll see it on FS1. Joey Logano has won stage 2. Here's Jamie.
And it's his first stage win of the year, so he'll be first onto pit road where he'll meet his pit crew. These group of guys made up of veterans, champions, and even a first-timer. Let's meet the 22 guys.
Joe Dilly, front tire changer. This is my first full season in Cup. Also, Shark Attack survivor.
Jake Seminara, I'm the rear tire changer, 19-year veteran, 2-time Cup Series champion with Kyle Busch and Joey Logano.
Jeremy Ogles, tire carrier, 2020 Most Valuable Pit Crew Award winner, 2022 Cup Series champion here at my home racetrack in Talladega from Birmingham, Alabama.
Graham Stoddard, Jackman, linebacker, University of Nebraska, 2-time Cup champion.
Nick Hensley, gas man. I got into the sport as a mechanic, and 19 years later, I'm still gassing race cars.
Paul Wolf up on the box, former Busch North Series driver in NASCAR. Joey Logano's longtime crew chief, and Coleman Presley is the spotter. 38 career wins for Paul Wolf.
You know you're a bad man when a shark bites into you and spits you out. Did you hear that guy?
I heard that. I thought you were going to fall out of your chair right there.
That's right. Warm them up, boys.
Yeah,
game on.
You better warm them up because pit road is going to put you in position or take you out of position. We've seen a lot of mistakes today, but these boys need to be on. Regan?
Well, Kevin, Joey Logano, everything going right for that team right now. We just met his guys. They're going to go into action at this moment. The race car a little bit loose early on in the race, still just a little bit loose, but he tells the team not bad. Josh?
For the 5 of Kyle Larson, he's been reporting an issue with the dash in that car. So in addition to 4 tires and fuel, they're going to reach inside and see if they can address that. For the 3 of Austin Dillon said, I need this car just to be loosened up just a little bit to help out Jamie.
Austin Cindric led 16 laps so far today. Said he doesn't want it any tighter than it is. 4 tires, wait on fuel, went a little deep into his box, Mike.
Logano and Cindric will lead them off pit road with Larson and Chastain. However, 6 cars stayed out and did not pit. There's your stage 2 winner, Joey Logano. First time the 2 stages have gone caution-free at Dega.
Team Penske leading the way today in terms of stage wins. You got stage 1 winner Austin Cindric. Stage 2 just wrapped up, and Joey Logano took that. Those guys out front for the captain, Roger Penske. Hey, everyone. Welcome to our studios, Shannon and Jamie. One of the big storylines coming into today that kind of has been playing out so far is, could Ford get its first win of the season? How much do you believe that that storyline could follow through the rest of the race?
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling really good about it. You look at it, they've won both stages. And if you look, I mean, Logano's won here 3 times. Blaney's won here 3 times. Brad Keselowski, who we haven't talked a lot about, a 6-time winner here at Talladega. All those guys are still in the field. I feel like today might be the day Ford gets it done.
All right, take the Ford out of the equation. Which other driver could give them a run for their money?
I would say the most impressive to me has been Kyle Larson. The fact that he had that penalty early on, had to serve it, was a lap down. It didn't take him long to get back to the front, and we've seen him be able to race for the stage wins in both stage 1 and stage 2.
Fairly calm race so far, Mike, which means that it could be coming, right?
Yes, it could, Shannon. That's always a possibility. Here at Talladega, where we're at the end of stage 2, time for our Credit One Bank ones to watch. Clint, who you got an eye on?
It's been 107 races since he's won. Brad Keselowski, 6-time winner here at Talladega. Got some strategy going his way already. He's the guy. He's in one of them Fords as well.
Well, I'm going to go with 2022 Daytona 500 winner Austin Cindric. I love the guts that it took to pull up in front of that line, won the first stage, and I think he's in position to have a fast car and have a chance at the end of this race.
I'm leaning into Richard Brickhouse, Dick Brooks, Lenny Pond, Ron Bouchard, Bobby Hillen, Davey Allison, Phil Parsons, Kenny Schrader, Brian Vickers, Brad Keselowski, Ricky Stenhouse, and Bubba Wallace, because they all got their very first win here at Talladega. I'm picking another first-time winner today.
I thought you were supposed to only pick one car. Mike picks half the field.
Well, it does say ones.
I got the rules right here.
There is an S behind that one.
He's also got a really good memory. I couldn't remember that many cars to save my life.
Even with a sheet card.
Yeah.
That's your Credit One Bank ones to watch. Here's your aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, powering every lap, every mile, and every victory on the road ahead. Goodyear, more driven. 63 laps to go. There's the Cheddars on board for Kyle Busch. One of the favorites we talked about at the very start of the show.
Well, the strategy just continues right here. We saw a whole bunch of cars while we were doing that last piece come down to pit road. Top 9 cars did not come into top off. Every other car in the field behind them came into pit road to top their cars off with fuel. So it's all about time on pit road. Keeping that car full of fuel is ultra important to put yourself in position.
Bass Pro Shops cam for Martin Truex. Getting ready to roll off for stage 3, and the Toyota cam for Bubba Wallace.
Well, you're going to see a really different looking restart right here with all those cars that came an extra time. You're going to have single file line of cars lined up behind these double wide cars that pitted correctly. The rest of the field will be single file. So something very unique that you don't typically see.
There it is, Kevin. You're exactly right.
And that's a penalty when you come down to pit road. You line up at the tail end of the longest line. So that was a long line.
19 different leaders so far today as Ross Chastain tries to get to the front with some help from Kyle Busch.
Probably the weirdest restart I've ever seen in my life.
Well, you forget how we used to start single file, and for those of you that are new, you see all these double file restarts. All the restarts used to be single file, and they were too spread out like this one.
Look at this old-fashioned drag race up front. Big block by Chastain moving up in front of him, but both of those sets of cars were tandem there for a minute. Busch pushing Chastain, Cindric into Logano.
Well, you've got 3 of the best blockers in the sport right there. Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, and Ryan Blaney. And that will be something that you have to do towards the end of this race. We saw it at the end of stage 2 with Joey Logano and Austin Cindric. Put on those mega blocks with the faster group approaching them, slowed them down, and kept themselves from going all the way to the back of the pack.
Daniel Suarez, Ricky Stenhouse, Carson Hocevar just ran their personal fastest lap of the race. The gloves are off. Well, the gloves are on, but the pedals right to the floor.
You said it, Kevin. Nobody more aggressive in blocking than Chastain. Maybe we listen along here to him and his spotter, Brandon McReynolds.
Still 2 by 2. Even lanes behind you now. Outside. Outside. That top's got the 22, 2, 8, and 3.
See, that's good intel right there. I love what I heard out of Brandon telling him, all right, where's this energy coming from? Who has the better line? You can't see in your rearview mirror past the car behind you, so who's he have for help?
First time we've seen the 2 Childress cars working together today. The 8 of Kyle Busch, the 3 of Austin Dillon.
The thing that I like about Austin Cindric and Joey Logano, I feel like Austin Cindric racing with him, he's always been a really good pusher. Joey Logano is he's always done everything really well.
Yeah, the trust factor, right? It has to be there. And you have to work well together. That's how you earn the trust.
And
you push well, you push straight, you don't lean on one corner or the other and get me in trouble as far as turning me around.
And with your teammates like that, you have more of those conversations than you do with anybody else in the field. And knowing each other's likes and dislikes is very important, because this is going to get physical. You're going to have to push really hard, and you're going to have to do that until the end of the race.
36 cars on the lead lap, and all within 2.5 seconds of one another. From first to 20th, 1 second.
Well, if I'm in the middle or the back of this pack, I'm starting to get antsy, because the longer this race goes, the harder it is to pass. We've got coming to 58 laps to go. And I believe you want to start working your way to the front. Sometimes you don't really have that option until things start to get mixed up. But any opportunity that I have, I want to take the aggression level up a notch and put myself in a position to start gaining spots.
.58 laps to go, 2 by 2. Talladega's known for 2 things: last lap lead changes and the big one. It's been an incident-free race here at Talladega today so far. It wasn't the big one, but it was big for Christopher Bell, as we are under caution for cause for the first time today.
Well, it's not going to be the last time today as you see Justin Haley with a bunch of flat tires. Let's see what happened here, Clint.
You see those guys right back here. It's Haley. It starts getting bottled up. Now watch.
Oh, yeah, they all
bottles
checked
up big time. Elliott gets in the back at Haley. He comes down, gets into Bell. Look how close it was for Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
Barely missing that. So close.
Yeah, it actually started with Alex Bowman up there. He checked up really hard. See a lot of cars. Chase Briscoe spin himself out. Luckily, he spins himself out and is headed down towards the grass before those cars came down the racetrack. So lucky situation right there. You see Alex Bowman backed up right there, and it just accordions the back until they finally bottle up.
That was so close with Elliott and Bell right there. He almost clipped him.
Look at Ryan Blaney right in the middle of that. Gets rear-ended by Zane Smith. Underneath.
On the outside, he had him everywhere. Watch this accordion all the way up through him.
Oh, yeah, you see the 38 car of Todd Gilliland actually pull up that red car right there with the generator logo on the front.
How did Elliott miss that? Gosh.
Wow.
Couldn't put the Sunday paper. Do they still have a Sunday paper in Anniston? I'm not sure.
Not a large amount of damage on Haley's car, I don't think. Obviously, Bell got the blunt of most of it. A lot of damage on the front of him. He's done.
Checking up, checking up, checking up, checking up. Stay in middle, watching for him to come down. Here.
Yeah, and Briscoe's really lucky that car spun out, or he would have piled nose first into those cars that came down the racetrack. Listen to the rear tires lock up.
Checking up.
Look at that, Clint. You see how aware he is. He had that thing downshifted into first gear, into neutral, whatever he shifted into right there, and then pulled it back one to put it in first.
Here's Ryan Blaney's narrow escape.
Easy. Middle. Low.
Wow.
And he got tagged from behind by Zane Smith.
Yeah, and you saw the right front fender on the 51 pop up when he hit the apron. Oh.
So at the moment of caution, Ross Chastain, at the last scoring loop that they crossed when the caution came out, he was ahead of Noah Gragson by just that much.
Larry, what's his setup? Probably going to be able to make it to the end from here, right?
I would say pit road will be very busy for fuel only. Yeah, it's still outside the fuel window, but I think now you're a lot closer than you were before that last caution. I would say pit, pack it full of fuel, and we'll go from there. But I can almost promise you this is not going to be the last caution.
I agree with you on that, Larry. Let's hear some 9 radio.
Man, I don't know why everybody stopped, but they sure did. Yeah, me neither. Before I get out of my mouth, you were in the back of him. Any damage you? Negative.
Yeah, and the only thing you hope that doesn't happen as we're looking at the front splitter light that right there, when you rear end somebody that hard, you don't want the splitter to become detached from the nose. So looks okay.
Cleaning up at turn number 3. Christopher Bell, one of those out of the race from this crash. Christopher Bell is out of the race. Justin Haley was pushed back to pit road with flat front tires, but he's in his pit getting service. And here come all the lead lap cars. Pack it full and get them gone.
Careful in and out of the box. A lot of communication here with the crew chief, spotter. Not spending much time in those boxes, which means they're pulling out in and out in front of one another.
Yeah, we got to really watch. You see those fuel men, possibility to run over each other and drag the fuel can off as well.
Austin Dillon, one of those that got impeded exiting his pit as other cars further back in line were pulling into theirs. So Logano picks up 3 spots, leaving pit road ahead of Berry, Gregson, and Cindric. The first 9 cars did not stop. They'll likely be in next time around. Even at Talladega, life imitates art. Regan.
Mike, I've seen a lot of things on pit road before, but this is an absolute first. This is Frenchie the painter. He is from New Orleans. He is a live action painter. Right now, as the race is going on, he's painting live action pit stop from Chris Buescher's pit stall, doing a fantastic job. Something new every time we come to Talladega.
That's pretty cool. Maybe he'll get to paint Victory Lane today. 51 laps to go. Now let's talk about the 8 drivers who have not pitted under this caution. Anthony Alfredo all the way back to Brad Keselowski. What's the thinking there?
You're out of my pay grade here, Mike.
Clint?
Well, I mean, if they're going to, I'm going to pass it down too, but I would think if their thought was to stay out and top off at the end like we've seen in these other scenarios, you know, that would be the play. But now I would think with inside of, I mean, Larry told us it's 46 to go, or 46 laps is our fuel window, 50 to go here. That's close enough. You could probably save the fuel to get to the end, right?
But I think, Clint, if you didn't come the first time, you might as well wait till 1 to go. And that's what their plan is.
Okay.
Coming to 1 to go.
But now you lost your track position.
Fans here at the track are enjoying the perfect pair as Wendy's visits Talladega Boulevard. Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez, and Shane Van Gisbergen got to play some mini golf, while hundreds of fans dined on fries and Frosties. Everybody found their perfect teammate this weekend with Wendy's. So, Clint, who is your ride or fry this weekend?
Well, I told you, Keselowski, I like what he's doing. There's a lot of strategy going on. But that ride or fry, that Wendy's activation is unparalleled. Everybody was at that Wendy's activation. Free biggie bag, a Frosty. My gosh, a Frosty with them big old good fries. Kevin, I had a few of those, as a matter of fact. Not just a couple, I said a few. Every day they were giving away free biggie bags for everybody in this infield. That helps soak up some headaches.
So with 50 laps to go, everyone came in to top off except the first 7 cars. Corey LaJoie came in 1 lap ago, and that leaves an even 5, let's say. Berry, Gregson, Hemrick, Burton, Van Gisbergen, who have 2 less laps, caution flag laps of fuel than everyone else.
Well, clearly if it goes green to the end, you know, that's when this situation presents itself. Other than that, as long as if some cautions come and give you some help, now you're talking a track position game. You're going to have to go get it back.
Saturday on Fox, the United Football League continues with hard-hitting action. You'll see Birmingham, Houston, or San Antonio takes on Arlington. Saturday at 7 Eastern on Fox. Kyle Busch lined up 11th for this restart. We listened into their radio.
Depending on what the pace is, that probably puts you within 2 to 5, 6 laps of your get home. 1 caution would probably get you where you need to be, or you aggressively save. That's going to help you out too, obviously. So it's kind of a little bit of a tricky spot there. Got all that.
So once again, we have the cars at the front that did not come in to top off, with everybody who did single file behind them for the restart.
Got those 2 teammates matching paint schemes. Don't get those confused. That's tough on a spotter. Only difference is basically the color of their numbers on the roof. That's what those guys can see.
Yeah, red roof for Berry, white roof for Gregson.
Pretty good ad for your company, though, with 2 of those things leading that pack.
Look pretty smart right now, don't they?
Yep. Here comes a big run. Chastain off the bumper of McDowell on that outside. Look at that run. Here they come.
Stuart Haas must have overstocked on decals this week.
You see Hemrick wanting to move up. There he is. Sees that run. Move up, take it. Chastain thought about going around him, wanted to.
Well, you definitely have a couple of different scenarios here. You know, you got the guys that are two laps shorter that stayed out when the other guys came in to top off. So it's it's going to be interesting to see if they can make it.
SVG has impressed me. He has drove to the front, put that car in track position time and time again. Nobody with no help.
Yeah.
As soon as he gets up there, it doesn't matter what lane he's in, the outside, the middle, or the bottom, nobody will go with him.
Daniel Hemrick has been impressive. This is the 3rd time that he has put that 31 out front today.
Here comes McDowell on his outside, back to the front where he started this race. You know that car's got some speed in it.
Michael McDowell won his 2nd career pole here yesterday, and that 34 is headed back to the front.
When you got the middle and the back of the pack really protecting themselves from a fuel standpoint right now, making sure that they're going to be where they need to be from their fuel number. You've probably got, you know, some of those guys up front. I think in that first 5, 6, 7 cars that stayed out might not think that they can make it, but
they're going to need help.
This will all play out as we get towards the end of this race. You see Michael McDowell, our pole sitter from today, work his way all the way back to the front of the pack, and he's going to be able to start dictating what he wants his pace to be.
Well, they know, to your point, Kevin, they know they can't make it, but those guys that came in and topped off are right on that brink of the edge. So run this thing as hard as you can, force those guys to put more fuel down, burn fuel, make sure they have to pit as well.
Austin Dillon leading the outside now over Daniel Suarez. Suarez teammate Ross Chastain in the 1 leading the middle lane.
Well, look at that. Yeah. So Kyle Busch, we heard him talk about his strategy and the things that he needed to do to save. You see him 50%. You see Michael McDowell 100%.
Harrison Burton, 4th car inside, up there with the leaders for the Wood brothers. He spent Wednesday giving rides at Charlotte to Mustang owners in an Australian V8 supercar. Said he had a blast doing it.
Well,
a lot of fun.
He's having a blast today by being up in front of the pack. We've seen that 21 Wood brothers Ford Mustang and Harrison Burton up in the front of the pack a lot today, and here they are with 46 laps to go, still looking for that 100th win.
Speaking of round numbers, we just hit 300 lead changes so far for this season. This is only the 3rd time in NASCAR history where we've had 300 lead changes in the first 10 races.
Well, we've had some very unique races this year. I would put this one into that category with the way that all the different strategies and scenarios have played out, and we still have, you know, a couple scenarios that have to play out towards the end of this race. But I would say at some point here, the caution is going to play into the scenario as well.
In a big way.
In a big way. The closer we get to the end of this race, the more those bumpers are going to be used on the front of these cars.
Bigger that caution's going to be.
And look at the urgency of these drivers now, trying to position themselves, trying to get to the front, trying to be right up there with that front pack. That's 12 cars under a blanket right there.
Well, that's what's impressive about McDowell. As I noted, you knew that car had the speed, and when it was time to go to the whip, he was one of those guys that topped off, drove up. He's up, what is he, 17 positions all within that first 2 laps, putting right back to the track position that he had at the start of this race. Pretty impressive.
Larry, are you at all concerned about McDowell's fuel burn right now being out in front?
Well, we've been watching the throttle trace, Mike, and he goes 100% very, very little. He's down in the 60% range quite a bit. Right now, our fuel predictor says, though, he can only run about 38 laps. So when you look at that, compared to 44 to go, definitely short right now.
There are Richard Petty laps to go here at Talladega. The GEICO 500 on Fox is sponsored by eBay Motors and by Wendy's Fries and Frosty, the perfect pairing. 40 laps to go at Talladega. Make that 39. 1 lap ago, 23 cars were in the lead draft. Now it's 34 cars long, and one of those in 8th place, the New Zealander, Shane van Gisbergen. Multiple champion in the Australia Supercar Series. First time on an oval track in a stock car. Last year he won on the streets of Chicago in this series. It's been an interesting acclimation, and we put together some of his in-car radio.
How's the car driving? Yeah, it moves around a bit when I got cars on either end. Keep talking in comments and how far off. I got no idea what a foot is. 1 meter is 3 feet, Joe. Copy. I didn't even think about that. That's good info. Okay. He likes the car lead, NASCAR stuff, so keep doing that. A little feedback from the pit crew here. They want you to be, when we're changing tires, you can be more aggressive coming into the box. Just slide them, lock them up and slide them. They like it when you lock them up. Okay, copy.
Well, he's given a great account of himself, running here in the top 10 with under 40 laps to go.
Yeah, is that a right foot or a left foot, guys?
What the heck's a foot?
Well, they have the metric system over there.
That's right, and Shane's done a great job. He's run several Xfinity races now on super speedways, road courses, ovals. First oval cup race here this weekend at Talladega. So there's always a lot to learn, but he's doing a great job.
McDowell the leader, Gilliland second, Keselowski third. Larry?
Yeah, Mike, we've been watching some interesting strategy with this 6 car. He topped off at lap 138 right before we went back green, restarted 28th. He and Matt McCall just had the conversation. We're going to run like hell. We're not going to let people save fuel. And right now, he's 100% throttle around this racetrack.
Well, it's you see Matt there in the bottom left. I think that's definitely the strategy. Okay, we're not going to make it. Let's make these guys run hard. And we've kind of seen that with the first 2 cars there of Michael McDowell, Todd Gilliland, Brad Keselowski, trying to make everybody pick up the pace.
So Keselowski trying to force their hand. What about the leader? We listened in. Oh, pit stops. Wait a minute.
Hard here. We're going to force the whole field. We're going to maintain control of this race. Just keep going hard and dragging the field. Get to the middle or something, but just go hard. Everybody in your mirrors on the same plan.
6 cars have come to pit road, including Tyler Reddick.
Here's the other part of the equation, right? These guys are going to force their hands. We're going to pit now.
Toyotas, all of them.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about earlier. There's some of those gamblers out there, some of those guys that feel like they can mix the strategy up and put themselves in a better position by getting out of the pack where everybody's saving and just come into pit road and get ahead of the game. Larry?
Guys, if they stay organized doing fuel only, if they'll get organized and lined up, they should be able to stay on the lead lap. And should that caution come and some of these people are forced to pit, they have got that track position. They are good to go. They pitted with 37 to go. They even had a little insurance with that.
Well, they're not necessarily all organized. You see the gap in between them. There's 4 cars out in front of the other 2. They need those other 2 to catch up. Probably can't afford to widen out Kevin and let them, though.
Yeah, Tyler Reddick got out first.
And the leaders have realized that. I mean, the pace now, the last lap was a 50-66. So they've realized that they wanted to push the pace, and now everybody's realizing that they need to push the pace because these guys pitted early. They're a little bit unorganized, the cars that just pitted, but they're going to get organized and start to run some better lap times.
But those lead cars, they have formed up in 2 organized groups.
Look at them widen out here, Kevin. What are they doing?
Yeah, when they widen out like that, they're just trying to create a bigger hole to just let those guys pull up faster.
Which is exactly what happened. They caught them and put them right back single file.
Good catch.
So McDowell leading the race, as you see in the map at the top of the screen, and Tyler Reddick leading the group that just came off pit road. So here's Kyle Busch's team reacting to those Toyota pit stops.
The Toyotas just pitted, so they topped off so they could run hard this whole time. So we're trying to get a plan here.
Well, they threw the first shot over the bow, and they are, just like Larry said, you're going to need all of them. They're single file, all those Toyotas together. That's a good move. It's going to force these guys off their plan here.
Now we'll keep tabs of this. These Toyotas are 35 seconds back of the leader with 34 laps to go.
Well, they're also fast, and we saw the leader run 50-30. We see the Toyotas right there. The first car was a 50-07. Cars pulling up 49.9s and 49.7. So
that pack's in trouble.
That pack's in trouble. They're going to have to make another plan or commit to running as long as they can. But these guys
are trouble.
Here,
Turn
guys.
3. It's Bubba Wallace and Eric Jones.
Oh my goodness.
That's exactly what happened. You couldn't do that. They were single file.
Yeah, the air cleaner is completely off of Eric Jones's car.
Now, this is the group, the Toyota group, guys. They were single file driving off, as Kevin was talking about, getting into turn 3.
What in the world?
Denny Hamlin is in it, down in the apron. Oh, and John Hunter Nemechek as well. So that is half or more of the Toyotas are taken out in this crash. Eric Jones has put the win on it down. The AMR safety team is right there.
Let's get a replay and see what happened here. What went wrong?
A shocker. Bubba Wallace climbing out. John Hunter Nemechek, it appears, got into the back of one of those two cars, and chaos resulted.
Okay, here it is. John Hunter Nemechek. You see, starts with the 42 car into the 23.
Well,
see him move up. The 23 actually gets in it.
And
Jones, and then they start moving around, stacking them up.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what we were talking about earlier over that tunnel, you see the back of those cars moving around. Look at that. See the back of the cars moving around, and as they're moving around, they come down and they're all connected in a they're not lined up, I guess is the best way to put it. It just gets them out of whack.
Now Denny Hamlin was to the inside. Somebody must have slid down into him off the banking.
That is a good plan gone wrong.
Good Lord.
Well, let's watch for Martin Truex.
Tight. Watch your record. Bottom.
Yeah. Nemechek came down and tagged the 11.
Now, obviously,
went
pushing very hard on one another, capitalizing on this opportunity that they gave themselves. But
yeah, and you just see those cars go over those. Oh my gosh, what a big shot by Eric Jones. But you see those cars go over that bump, and all of a sudden they're misaligned.
boy, they had them. They had these guys on the ropes.
Now we'll get NASCAR's view from the 42 of John Hunter Nemechek. Wow, he hit Hamlin really hard and sent Denny into the outside wall at almost a 90-degree angle. It looks as if only Martin Truex and Ty Gibbs got through of the 6 Toyotas that all pitted together.
Well, we talk about living on the side of aggression, and that is one of those scenarios where they all realized that they were in the right spot to be able to put themselves in position to gain a bunch of time, and they were all trying to capitalize. But it is so easy to get yourself in trouble over those bumps going into turn 3. And I know you haven't driven this car here, Clint, but it is so rigid in order to get the speed out of the car that you just sacrifice the ride quality over that tunnel in turn 3, and they just got misaligned right there, and that is a really good plan gone bad.
Well, it definitely jumped Jones's car up sideways, which put Wallace's car on the wrong side of that. Got it wiggling, stacks them up, and they got run over. But I cannot emphasize enough, they had these guys in big trouble.
Yeah.
That plan was going to work.
Tyler Reddick was ahead of it all.
You got a car bumper to bumper, and when that thing bounced, it just amplified everything. Eric Jones hit a ton.
He did, and that is just the worst way to hit right there. Look at that car, just absorb that. Look at the safer barrier. Absorb.
Six Toyotas pitted together, 4 of them involved in that crash. And pit road is open. Micah McDowell leads them down. Looks like almost all of the lead lap cars are coming in.
Well, that bad situation created a great scenario for everybody else to take all the questions out of it.
It sure did. Saved a lot of them.
McDowell, Keselowski, Gregson, the way they come off pit road. Now Carson Hocevar did not stop, along with a couple of others. A big crash taking 4 Toyotas out of the 500 here in Talladega.
I think this weekend is really important for Ford. If A Ford does not win this weekend, it is an absolute failure with everything they have going on. They need to win the race this weekend. They have to. A Ford has to win the race this weekend to stop the bleeding.
Strong words on the Happy Hour podcast. New episode every Tuesday and Thursday. Brought to you by NASCAR on Fox. This becoming the Harvick family podcast?
Well, it can be, for sure. Piper and I, where are you going? Now you're going to be shy, but this is the great part about retirement, folks. I get to bring Keelan and Piper to the racetrack and have fun and not worry about how hard I have to hit anything or stressing out about fuel mileage or anything like that. So who's this? Rex? We got Rex.
Cool.
Regan?
Well, Bubba Wallace checking a release from the infield care center. Bubba, we saw the contact going into turn 3 there, kind of looking like maybe there was a bump there over the tunnel. What took place from your perspective?
No, just we were all pushing really hard to keep our line going. We had a plan and just didn't execute it as well as we should. So, hate it for our Lidos team. We look forward to running these places, and then you just get trapped in somebody else's mess. But I hate it. It doesn't make us look good at all. But all in all, we'll just reset and go to Dover. We got a long way to go. We're fine. Just frustrating.
Thanks, Bubba.
Took a while there to get Eric Jones out of his car. Let's rejoin Regan.
Denny Hamlin also checked and released from the care center. Denny, it seemed like you were maybe going to have that clear right there. How late was it when you got clipped, and could you do anything different?
I'm not sure. I didn't. I just saw the 43 get turned, and then I got turned. So I'm really not sure which one all happened first. But yeah, I'm not really sure. Obviously, there was a bad push up towards the front, and it wiped us all out. So it's just poetic.
Thanks, Danny.
That's all I got. Sorry.
Thanks, Danny.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin looked like he had this one missed. And then cars quickly came down track and swept him up in it. He took a hard hit to the outside. Glad he's okay. Looking at our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear in the packed infield here at Talladega. Powering every mile and every moment on NASCAR's road to victory. Goodyear, more driven.
Well, it's going to get good. I can promise you that. This is going to get physical. You know, we saw the strategy play out with the Toyotas, and I feel like you, Clint. I feel like they had the upper hand right there, and they just,
I'd say, it kind of
made an epic mistake.
Yeah.
All right, so 4 Fords in one lane, 3 Toyotas leading the other. Things are starting to form up.
Well, you see Tyler Reddick, Truex, and Gibbs, who missed that wreck right there, that were in that group.
I see a lot of hungry race car drivers. McDowell, Daytona 500 winner. Reddick, Keselowski, 107 races. It's been Truex, never a super speedway win. Gregson, new to this 10 car. Kyle Busch, you know he's hungry. Gibbs, his first win.
Well, the first 12 haven't won this year.
Look out.
Yeah.
Eric Jones, good news, just checked and released from the infield care center.
Got him on their feet.
27 laps to go when they get to the line. We're back under green.
A lot of pushing on the outside. I like these 4 Fords lined up on the bottom. It's a good scenario for them. A good line. Nobody can take it from you. Bumpers locked up with Keselowski and McDowell there.
Yeah, they just got to be careful over that patch into turn 3. We saw it with just a few cars. These cars are going to have a lot more momentum than those 7 or 8 cars of those Toyotas that just wrecked. So definitely you got to be on your toes back there, but one of the best in the business at pushing right there. And Brad Keselowski, we've seen him push some cars and spin a bunch of them out, but he does not care. He's going to push as hard as he can to try to put himself in position to win, and that's the risk that you take sometimes.
Well, let's join Regan with Eric Jones.
Well, Mike, Eric Jones taking the hardest hit in that incident right there. First off, Eric, are you okay, and what happened?
Yeah, I'm a little sore, but, you know, be all right. I don't know, the 23 was pushing us there. Obviously, we were pushing and shoving to try to make time with our strategy, and, you know, I got pretty sideways getting into 3 and tried to gather it up, and then ended up really hard into the wall. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, I hate it for my team and my guys. Obviously wanted to work out and have a good run, but I'm all right. That's a good thing. It was a hard hit, and at the end of the day, I guess you're going to be dumb. You got to be tough, so keep rolling.
All right, thanks, Eric. Glad you're okay.
Starting to see McDowell moving around, managing those lines, the runs that are coming, both top and bottom. Can't be slow to that block, though, and miss. Obviously, he wants to remain down on the bottom in front of those 3 Fords, the best spot for him. But slow that momentum down to that outside line. Just don't miss. There he is, moving back down to the bottom. Textbook.
Yeah, and that's where that spotter really comes into play as to where the momentum is, because we can see which lanes are stacked up right here, which lanes are going forward, and that's what those spotters are looking for as well. Which lane is moving to help Michael McDowell know, not only from his mirror but from the roof, what the opinion is on where he needs to go.
Still 31 cars on the lead lap and in this lead draft in contention.
I see the Ford cars still able to push harder on one another. The way the bumpers line up, it's just a little bit better. Those Toyotas I've seen, if you look on that outside row, Truex, even Gibbs off the bumper of Busch's Chevy was sideways a couple times.
Yeah, you see it right there.
Yep. As soon as they touch one another, it's kind of like a arrowhead hits it, and got to be careful walking across the bumper. That's what happened with Eric Jones.
Now those 3 Toyotas on the outside are the only 3 cars that did not pit under this caution. It's because they had just pitted under green 6 laps prior to the rest of the field.
Lots of speed in that 34 car. That's your pole sitter, the fastest car in this racetrack. It's exactly where that car needs to be efficient. Utilize that speed in front of everybody.
Yeah, and you see that middle lane when Todd Gilliland come up behind Kyle Busch right there to make up that gap. And that middle lane will really get a big run when you get those gaps and people pull out a line to try to go top or bottom.
Quick block by Busch.
They'll come around to 22 laps to go. Michael McDowell and Tyler Reddick leading at Talladega. We'll take you Fox side by side one more time. "19 laps to go." Michael McDowell trying to hold back both lanes now, with Reddick on the outside and Keselowski on the inside. Jamie.
We'll talk to Michael McDowell before the start of this race. He said, I love that we're starting on pole. He said, leading this race is exactly where I want to be all day long. I want to control the pace. Well, the good news is the team told him he is good to go on fuel. And Michael was quick to note, I've pushed a few guys to victory lane at this place, but I've never had the push I need to drive it into victory lane. Perhaps that changes today.
Been quite a day for the pole sitter.
Well, you see that outside lane has got themselves to be door to door with Michael McDowell, so he's not going to have any luxury of working both lanes to try to keep both lanes at bay, as they've worked themselves all the way back to the front of the pack and side by side with his car.
All Fords on the inside, 3 Toyotas in front of Kyle Busch's Chevy on the outside.
Well, that's my question. All right, if we do inch ahead of him and I need my help, and that help is Truex and Gibbs behind him, do I move down, take that line away? Man, Keselowski can lock bumpers and push, Kenny.
Yeah, and that's all about timing that run off of turn 2, and when you can utilize that whole straightaway, and Brad is really good at getting his momentum correct. You see those cars behind him get up to the back bumper, and he's being really good at timing it on the straightaway right here. You see it again. He kind of just pushed him out there that time, but off of turn 2, he's been doing a really good job of getting that timing right. And you see him right out of the tri-oval, right to the back bumper, instead of having a gap and having to lift before he gets out of the tri-oval. So
his car reacts faster than others. You saw him get tight getting into 3, created a little bit of a gap there, and then it drove straight back to the bumper, quick to react.
Yeah, and one thing that Larry just said in my ear is a strategy that I preferred to do on a super speedway. Instead of lifting off the throttle, you'll drag the brake a little bit to be able to keep the RPM up and just check that car up just a little bit with a little bit of brake pressure. So I always thought that allowed me to be a little bit closer to the car in front of me. It's obviously not something you can do the whole race, but at the end you can do that.
16 rows back, 2 by 2, 31 cars in the lead draft within 2 seconds of the lead. Larry Mack, 16 laps to go.
What I did, Mike, I went back and looked at the last 9 super speedway races between Daytona and Talladega in the Gen 7 car area. And the number is skewed because of one race 2 years ago where we ran the final 68 laps caution free at Talladega. But the average of the last caution, 15 to go, which today would be laps 173. We've had 4 overtimes in those 9 races. Talladega, in fact, has had a combined total of 18 overtime finishes.
Wow.
Well, I want to go back to that strategy of Brad Keselowski and the dragging of the brake, because it also helps you in the corner as well when you get those runs, and he's really doing a good job of utilizing that to make the timing right on these runs off the straightaway.
Gragson got in the left rear corner of Reddick. That was really, really close to turning him around into the field.
Yeah, and those are those types of moments that could be the moment that causes the complete melee.
The Toyotas don't seem to be doing much bump drafting, and they haven't seemed to be able to pull up even with McDowell's number 34.
We see how McDowell moved up. Look at the gap. He just drove off from Keselowski, but a huge shot from Noah Gragson into Keselowski drove him right back to that bumper of McDowell. Momentum is so powerful, the energy that's created from those lines. That's why those blocks and that communication with that spotter are so crucial. The timing of that cannot be off the least little bit. You'll either miss it or cause the melee.
Talladega, the scene of Keselowski's last trophy. But it's been a while.
He's in a good spot for it, Mike. 6-time winner here. Got a lot of help with those Stewart-Haas cars behind him. Good scenario of Ford in front of him.
Well, there's 16 guys. The first 16 cars have not won a race this year, and there's several of them that were on that list. I've been on that list, obviously, 115 races. We talked about it on the podcast this week. We lost our sponsor that day and came out and was able to beat Jamie McMurray to the start-finish line and break that streak. So Talladega is a place that all these guys know, especially the guys that are up in the front. This is a place where you can make it happen.
Now, last time by, Reddick was the leader at the line, but going off into turn number 1, McDowell again forged to the front. And Gregson, I mean, he's on the back bumper of Keselowski like a dog on a mailman.
Yeah. Yeah, and as this race gets closer and closer to the end, the pushes will get harder and harder until they're too hard.
Well, they're already getting there. I mean, I've seen Truex off the bumper, Reddick slamming that thing. Keselowski is giving McDowell all he needs. This is definitely ratcheting up. It causes accordion effect down in the back in the field too. 6, 7, 8. Look back in there. Look how fast. If those guys are doing that up front, it just gets way worse as it goes back through the field.
Toyota and Chevy at the front, or Toyota and Ford at the front. The Chevys are Busch and Chastain in 8th and 9th. Suarez and Bowman 11th, 12th. Then Stenhouse and Byron further back. "12 laps to go at Talladega. Give us 10 minutes, we'll give you a great finish. But first, in case you missed it, it's been a pretty calm day through stages 1 and 2 here at Talladega. First 2 stages caution-free. Chris Buescher threading the needle with Ryan Preece as the Penske cars tried to hold them back. And Ford swept the stages with Cindric and Logano. 6-car pileup back at lap 133. Christopher Bell went to the garage in that one, as Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney snuck through. Toyotas all pitted together, came out. They had a good plan until John Hunter Nemechek got into the back of Bubba Wallace, who got into Eric Jones, and then Nemechek caught Denny Hamlin sliding down off the banking, and just like that, 3 fast Toyotas were out of this race. Here we are then with pole sitter Michael McDowell out front battling Tyler Reddick on the outside lane with help from the 19 of Martin Truex as we come to 10 to go.
And right there you saw Tyler Reddick be so close to being able to clear Michael McDowell, and that would be what he would prefer, to try to control both lanes instead of this constant back and forth as to being side by side. So that outside lane, I still believe the Toyotas can push really good if they can get lined up appropriately, Clint.
That's the key. Truex certainly can. A lot of speed out of that car. You can see the aggression. He's able to drive right to the bumper and push in pretty hard. Have to be very careful on that though.
That outside lane seems to be able to stay more consistently lined up. I think with the big runs that Brad Keselowski and Noah Gragson keep getting, and right there you see Brad is able to actually clear Tyler Reddick, but he's going to stay down low, stay with those Fords for now. But the thing that Michael McDowell has to be careful of as we get towards the end of this race is doing what he's been doing, and that is getting too far out to where Brad can kind of snake through and get to the top side as we get towards the end of this run, because right now those Fords are committed to Michael McDowell, and he knows that.
4 Fords lead the inside lane, 3 Toyotas lead the outside lane. Chevy's lined up right behind them, ready to pounce.
Yeah, and you can see back here some Fords trying to figure out, I think it's Preece leading that charge on that outside of trying to get it 3 wide, but that, now that they've sped up, I mean, think about it. Earlier in the day when we had those outside line that could drive at the front at will, they were running 54-second laps. We're running 50-second, 4 seconds faster.
Yeah, and when you're back there like that, you're just trying to make something happen that, you know, might work out, because there's really nowhere to go when these guys are nose to tail, bumper to bumper pushing, because there's just no speed left in your car. But you're hoping that they get jammed up and maybe you get 3 or 4 more guys to pop out of line to try to make your lane have a little bit more power.
That's the key. It's going to take more cars than 3 or 4.
Michael McDowell has been the Pied Piper. He's now led as many laps as his car number as we come to 7 to go.
This is where it's going to get hard for Michael McDowell. Those runs are going to come faster. They're going to come harder. They're going to have a lot of energy. that spotter's going to earn his money.
Well, and every lap that goes by, the less and less trust you have in Brad Keselowski, right? Unless Brad is side by side, and he wants to win this race as well. So if Brad can put himself in a position where he can get Michael McDowell way out there and have that line stacked up behind him to somehow give himself an opening to get to the right rear and in front of that outside line, that's what he's looking for.
Michael's doing a great job of controlling and managing these runs in both lanes.
Michael Fisher is Michael McDowell's spotter, and he has done a great job so far of helping McDowell mind the gap.
Back auto one entry, you'll be clear down. Good. Top is tighter, top is tighter. Connected top, disconnected one on the bottom. Don't let the 45 get clear here. All right, Brad's help is on. 45 is on. Help comes to you on. Quarterback there, connected top. Got a third lane working row 7. Third lane working row 7 by the 9. Quarterback.
Talking about Chase Elliott trying to drag some cars with him way up on the outside, but it remains McDowell versus Reddick.
Yeah, but that's when those cars start popping out of line and shifting lanes like that up to the top side. That's when the momentum of these lines start to change, because the more and more cars that have to go up to that top lane and have to fill those gaps, the more it kind of pulls the back forward, and then that's when those accordions start to happen in the middle of the pack, and it changes the speed of that line.
It creates that opportunity, and there it goes. Look at that run that SVG got off the bumper of the 9 car. Here they come. Big runs, and they were accordion on the bottom, getting into 3, which opened that opportunity up even more.
And that's what you want. If you're trying to create that third line up there, you hope that those guys have something happen on the bottom.
That's the New Zealander leading the third lane on the outside. Coming to 4 to go. When Michael McDowell won the Daytona 500 in 2021, he was third at the white flag. But a bad bump from Brad Keselowski in second to leader Joey Logano started the big one, and McDowell emerged victorious. Not today. Today he's been out in front more than anybody. 36 laps led so far.
Well, you can see, Clint, it just gets dicier and dicier every lap that you go. You see the back of those cars starting to bounce. You see the middle of the pack start to stack up.
I see SVG coming off the bumper of that 9 car again. Drove by a bunch of them as they stack up an accordion on the bottom, getting into 3. That's working for them. Keep an eye on these front cars up here. Their lines just keep getting tighter and tighter. The gap in between those cars.
Well, and that's what we expect. We expect the pack's just going to keep getting tighter and tighter until eventually it spits somebody out.
2 to go or 3 to go here. It's time for somebody to go for it. If you're riding back there, 8th, 9th, 10th place land, you got to make something happen.
Who will jump out in front of Van Gisbergen to try to pull that third lane? There it is, Kyle Busch.
Exactly what I was talking about. And here comes Gibbs.
And that's going to really open things up to change at the front of the pack. And that's what this outside line wants. They want those lane changes to keep happening at the front of the pack, but the outside line kind of got broke up right there and had a little bit of trouble.
Well, Gibbs stacked him up. When he was the last car to go, everybody had to lift, and that line deteriorated. And look, the rest is history. They all had the momentum. Gibbs kind of was stalled out, and as they approached him, they lifted. Boy, it crushed that line. Straight to the back, Gibbs and Busch.
When Bill France built this track, he knew that the seats in the tri-oval would be easy to sell, just as they'd been for the last decade at Daytona. How about those seats down toward turn 1? At Daytona, they're a tough sell. So France said, let's put the finish line down toward turn 1. That's what he did. The leader in the middle of the tri-oval at Talladega has often not been the leader at the finish line.
And that's part of your strategy as you roll off of that turn 4 with the momentum, with the energy, the timing of that. It is different here. It's a great point, Mike. It's coming.
Well, you want to be the leader right now, because as you head towards this white flag, you want to be the leader as long as possible in case that caution flag comes out.
It is Reddick at the white flag with 1 lap to go, sponsored by Credit One Bank. McDowell back to the point by a foot. big push from Truex. Keselowski as well. Here comes Gregson.
Energy's on the bottom. It's deteriorating on the top.
Now does Keselowski. Is he wingman to McDowell, or does he have a chance to win this race? Off turn 4 for the final time.
Comes a run by Brad. There he goes to make his move. He's going to switch back over.
Oh, the block, and around goes the 34. And Reddick steals one.
That was almost exactly how Brad won this race, his first race. Huge wreck here, guys. Reddick.
Oh my God! Great work, guys! Woo!
Tyler Reddick for the win. Everybody else wrecks.
You knew it was coming. McDowell was trying to block. That run was coming.
A dejected Michael McDowell drops the window net.
Great work, guys!
Didn't make it across the start-finish line either.
Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan will get to celebrate as car owners. It'll take a while to get the list of cars involved. Sixth career win for Tyler Reddick of Corning, California. Last win 17 races ago at Kansas, and it's his first win of the season. He becomes the 52nd driver to win at Talladega, and this becomes the 33rd Talladega Cup race with a last lap pass for the win.
Well, we knew it was going to come down to some of those crazy blocks at the end, and we talked about who needed to win this race, and Michael McDowell knew that he was in a position that he needed to try to take advantage of the opportunity that he had. He put some massive blocks on there at the end. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, this is going down the back straightaway. Brad just doing what he's done the whole time, and that's keeping the Michael McDowell up in the front of the pack.
But I loved what he did here. He pushed him away and created a gap. He drug that brake, got this momentum built by Gregson off his bumper, and away we go. Make the move to the outside. McDowell blocks him high, goes to the bottom, and look at the energy coming with Gregson. Brad was able to utilize that block, pushes him, and that was one block too many on McDowell's behalf. Turned him around.
And look at Reddick. Maintain his foot on the floor and shoot through as mayhem develops behind. The first 4 cars get by unscathed. Reddick, Keselowski, Gregson, and Berry.
That's somebody on their side. I think it was Berry. Rode the wall on his door.
Michael Jordan among those celebrating. All drivers have climbed from their car without assistance after a pileup at the checkered flag in Talladega.
So close. After 107 races, man, he was in position.
Always great to see Michael Jordan at the racetrack. Got his brand on the side of that car. Such an iconic figure, and
perfect day for him.
Yeah, and he is at the racetrack a lot. I don't think people realize how much Michael Jordan supports his team and the sport and his drivers, and how much he has actually put into everything.
Well, he grew up a race fan. His dad would take him to races as he was growing up.
Wow, how about that? That's a moment. Dad's over here celebrating, and you're in the lap of Michael Jordan, man. You don't get any better than that right there.
Yeah, Bo.
Thanks, Dad. That is awesome.
We said it yesterday on the qualifying show. You're looking at a future champion of the sport right here.
Well, he's going to the top.
Well, we talked about Tyler Reddick being a little bit frustrated with the finishes that he's had because he knows the opportunities he's had to win races, and you never know coming into this particular race how it's going to work out for you. But to be able to win the race today and be able to put that 45 car in victory lane, it's a good day. They've run well enough to win a few races this year.
And a young fan gets a great souvenir. Tyler Reddick's checkered flag. It is the 6th career win for 2311 Racing. Their first of the season and second at Talladega. Jamie.
Tyler Reddick climbs down the fence, takes the helmet off. You get the first win for Toyota on a super speedway with this new car, next-gen car. It's been a long time. I know you are pumped up. What does this one mean to you, Tyler, winning at Talladega?
Man, it's incredible. Everyone on this 45, Jordan Brand Toyota Camry, worked really hard today, and didn't really work out in that third stage for us, but we were able to fight and defend our track position. Was that crazy, guys? What was that crazy, fans, huh? That was chaos. That's Talladega for you.
Take me through that last couple of moments. You're up there against the Fords. They get together, and then you're hammered down. Take me through it.
Yeah, just got to give a lot of credit to Ty Gibbs and Martin Truex. You know, it was just us Toyotas left, and they pushed me with everything they had. So huge credit to Martin and Ty. Without those pushes, we don't win this race.
Congratulations, Michael Jordan's waiting for you.
Let's go!
Brad Keselowski comes home second here today at Talladega. Bring me through the final lap, the move to get around McDowell, and ultimately the way things played out for you.
Yeah, I was getting some great pushes from Noah Gragson. Thought the Fords were really working well together, and we cleared the Toyotas there on the bottom lane, and it was pretty clear it was going to come down to the three of us, and backed up. Noah gave me a great push, and I wanted to make a move on Michael, and he covered it, and I went back the other way. I got another push from Noah, and I just nowhere to go when Michael came back down. So I hate that for him. He's a good guy. I hope he's all right. Just kind of the way this stuff goes, right? But all in all, a really solid day for us, for Ford, for Castrol, and another second. You know, it's a solid day, but not the win we wanted, Josh.
And how important is this for the team right now to be running well, to get these second place and turn things around the way you want?
Yeah, I mean, good finishes are important, Josh, but we want wins. And you could really taste it today, but just didn't happen.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad Keselowski came so close as the race ends under caution. Let's have another look at what happens here coming off turn number 4.
Well, Brad described it pretty well. You know, Michael went up to block. He knew that this was his opportunity, just a huge move right here, and just came across the nose of Brad's car right there. Tyler Reddick never lifted.
Watch the 7 here. Well, I have to get to a different angle, but man, he was into the wall, and
he was up on his side.
Yeah, for a long ways.
LaJoie ends up 19th as a result of that. Joey Logano kept driving it across the line, and that's how he ended up unofficially 14th.
Well, I promise you, he had his eye on that start-finish line. If you can keep your car straight, you're not going to let off until it's sideways and uncontrollable.
There you can see. Watch the 7 car get up on its side.
Oh, it's upside down.
All the way upside down.
Underneath Josh Berry.
And it's still sliding on its side all the way down the wall.
Yeah, he's going to finish the race.
Look at that. That is wild. I thought I saw that.
LaJoie, 19th.
Wow. Unbelievable. Oh, it's going to go over.
There's the reaction of Travis Peterson after Michael McDowell had pretty well dominated stage number 3. Meanwhile, over at 2311 Racing, Billy Scott and crew get to celebrate, along with car owner Michael Jordan, who on this date in 1996, Jordan won his record 8th NBA scoring title.
You ready to go see him? You want to go see him? Come on, let's go.
Tyler Reddick triumphs at Talladega. More to come from the world's fastest speedway. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.